Well, good evening and welcome in. It is a tradition unlike any other. The 2026 Idaho High School State Boys Basketball Tournament Preview Special coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. All you Instagram folks, stand by. We're getting the stream up here in just a second. My name is Brandon Bainey, but you're going to want to hear from all of our other talented broadcasters tonight because they're the ones that are going to be broadcasting the tournaments. This is what we do. We come on every year. We start at one classification and make our way through. We're going to start with the 1A tournament tonight and work our way up, a little bit of a flip from what we normally do. And we're going to spend about 15 to 20 minutes deep diving into each bracket, telling you the teams, the matchups, the players, the storylines you need to keep an eye on this weekend at Boys State Basketball. And we'll do it with the help of all of our great broadcasters that will be covering the action for us live once again on IdahoSports.com. Doesn't cost you a cent, not even a red cent, to tune in and listen to all of the great action we're going to be bringing you live on IdahoSports.com. So as you're hanging out tonight, we want to hear from you, the fans. So if you've got a question, a comment, a shout out for your favorite school or a player or team, go ahead and throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen. We love the interaction with the fans. And also, as you're hanging out tonight, if you could hit that like button if you're on Facebook, the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, share this when it's all said and done. That will help everybody else find this a little easier on replay as they're scrolling through whatever else they may be scrolling through on social media over the next couple of days. So with all of that out of the way, it is time to talk 1A State Boys Basketball. Pleased to bring on our broadcast duo, Gary Jones and Hayden Uhlencott. Gentlemen, good evening. Gary, how are you?
Hey, Brandon.
And Hayden, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just fantastic.
Okay. I like it. Okay, Gary, we went so late last time with the girls preview. We did the 1As last, and it was past your bedtime. So we said, we'll go 1As first. So we get, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed Gary here for the preview. So I'm expecting
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm expecting your fastball tonight. Let's start by taking a look at this bracket, guys. This is an interesting one. Rockland gets the 1 seed. Water Springs, their district rival, gets the 2 seed. Probably, Rockland beating Water Springs in the district championship tilted it in their favor. You've got Rockland playing Dietrich, the 1 and the 8. Timberline and Cary, 4 versus 5. Pretty interesting matchup there. Garden Valley and Greenleaf Friends in a battle of District 3 rivals that start with the letter G. And then Water Springs and Court of Christ at the very bottom, the 2 and the 7. A pair of Christian schools going head-to-head here. In fact, in this tournament field, there are 3 Christian schools competing. And St. John Bosco nearly made it 4, but they lost to Greenleaf Friends, which is also a Christian school. So with all of that said, Gary, what is the first thing that jumps out to you when you look at this bracket?
What I do every year is I look at last year's bracket and see who's back. 5 of the teams are back. Rockland's back. They came in 3rd last year. Dietrich is back. They won it last year, so the defending champs are back to try to win back-to-back. Water Springs won the consolation. Court of Christ and Garden Valley were both there, but they didn't make any medals. So a lot of experience returning for those 5 teams.
Hayden, what jumps out to you right away when you see this?
I look at it as a very balanced field. I think Rockland is probably, I think Coach Neal probably hates me saying this, but they're probably the clear favorite. But I think 2 through 8 is very balanced. I think there are a lot of really good matchups in that field. I mean, I look at the one with the 2 Gs, Garden Valley and Greenleaf. They're playing for the 4th time this year. Timberline, Cary, very similar teams. Dietrich at the 8, the defending state champ. I just think there's a lot of pretty solid teams throughout the entire bracket.
Yeah, let's start with Garden Valley in that battle of G's because we're already getting some Wolverine love here. Here's Tivon and Shelby Miller in the chat. Let's go Maddox Miller, Wolverine power. And Gavin Miller says, let's go Maddox Miller as well. So, Gary, let's start with Garden Valley. The Wolverines come in with a 19-2 record on the season. Heather Kelly always seems to have athletes and not quite as tall as they were last season, but you look at the projected lineup there, Will Coburn, 6'5", senior in the middle, and they've got some excellent guards. Maxon Yearsley, Cody Perrin, Maddox Miller, Elijah Marchand all have had their moments this season. They got to state last year. They only have the 1 championship in school history, though, and that was kind of a legendary team. They were a dominant team that year. They put together another dominant regular season this year. What do you think of Garden Valley's chances at state this weekend?
Well, I like the fact that they're returning experienced players. And I've always made this comment about high schools. Generally speaking, seniors beat juniors, juniors beat sophomores, and sophomore speed freshmen. So look at that lineup. There are 4 out of their 5 starters as seniors. And that 19-2 record is no accident. So I think they have as good a chance as anybody to win the title.
Yeah, here's Sven, who we're going to be hearing from up next in our 2A breakdown. But he had a chance to broadcast Garden Valley this season at the Small School Showcase. And he said Garden Valley plays fast. They are a challenging team to keep up with. Hayden, what impresses you most about this Garden Valley team? The speed, the size, the shooting? What is it?
I just think it's the athleticism with this team. I think they are. I mean, I've talked to a couple coaches already. And I think they've all said, yeah, I think Garden Valley probably has the most athletes in the tournament. Like, they are a very athletic group, and it makes it really hard for teams to match up with them because they create a lot of mismatch opportunities, especially players like Will Coburn. He's just a guy that is very hard to match up with. I mean, he's 6'5", but he's also really good on the perimeter.
Yeah, so let's flip it to Greenleaf Friends then. The Grizzlies went 17-9 this season. Were not able to knock off Garden Valley the 2 times they played them. And you'll notice here, Gary, we talked about the size that Garden Valley had. Greenleaf Friends, not a ton of size. They've got some good athletes too. Jake Miller is one of the better scorers in the conference. Zane Fillmore has really played well as a sophomore this year, but they're going to have to shoot well if they're going to want to negate some of Garden Valley's speed, size, and strength.
Yeah, the problem with them is they're playing Garden Valley, right?
Right.
They lost to them. Let me look at my notes here. They lost to them, I think, 3 times. They did. So, they say it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. So it must be harder to beat a good team 4 times. But when you're playing a team you've lost to 3 times, you don't have a lot of confidence with that team, and the other team has confidence. Now, maybe Garden Valley might overlook them. That's always happens in sports, and that's where upsets happen. So the coaches from Garden Valley have to get them to not overlook Greenleaf Friends because they're a state, they're a quality team, and who knows, maybe they can pull the upset.
Yeah, you'll see here 1 title in their school history, 1982. The last time they got to state was 2007. That was quite a time ago. How long ago was it? Gary, maybe you remember these days, but back then, the 1A D2 bracket at the time, or 1A, whatever it was called, they took 16 teams to state, and they played a 16-team bracket. So, and
they started state on Wednesday.
Yeah. So just be thankful you guys aren't, starting Wednesday with a 16-team bracket. That'd be kind of crazy, but that's how long it's been since Greenleaf Friends. So just getting to state, awesome. We'll see if they can take that next step, certainly. Let's stay on that bottom half of the bracket then and talk about Water Springs and Coeur de Christ, the 2 and the 7. Let's check out the Warriors here, Hayden. They've got athletes. Corbin Nelson is a walking bucket. He's hit 30 several times this year. Ryan Demkowitz has been basically a varsity contributor since his freshman year. He's now finally a senior. And Sean Perry, quarterback the football team this fall. He's the quarterback on the court as well at point guard. This is a pretty good Water Springs team.
Yeah, 100%. They're a 2 seed, and it's well justified. I mean, I think you look at Nelson and Demkowitz, they might be the 2 best players in this entire field, and they're on the same team. They are some really good basketball players. And they just cause a lot of matchups. Like, it's really hard to guard these guys one-on-one. And that's why you'll see nights where, they're both scoring 20 points a game, 30 points a game. They're just hard to play with. I think it really comes down to how can the secondary players step up and play. If they can contribute at a high level, they're also a really tough out. And, they've played Rockland. They know what it takes to play a team like them and beat them. And, they're the last one to take them on. And so I think they have a good idea.
Gary, I'm sure you've gotten to know Coach Evan Bindenagel pretty well over the past couple of years. He's gotten Water Springs to state the last several seasons, but they're looking to take that. They're looking to take that next step, right? They have not quite gotten to the top of the mountain yet. What do they have to do this season to get there?
Well, I think they have to rely on their experience. And when you go to the top of the mountain, it's a hard climb. You got to do it one step at a time. Well, they won the consolation last year, so those juniors and seniors know what it's like. And if they get to the title dance against Rockland, if Rockland should make it that far, they lost to Rockland twice. But once again, that old saying, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. So I would just have them rely on their experience because, experience helps you like at the free throw line. You can practice all the free throws you want in the gym, but you can't practice free throws in a state game. You can only time you can practice that in a state game. And so the teams that have been there before are less nervous, more likely to make the free throw, more likely to get the rebound, more likely to do positive things. So I would just hopefully their experience will carry them.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago now, Gary. I was broadcasting the consolation games on Saturday at the 1A, and Water Springs and Rockland were playing each other in the consolation final, and it was a battle. It was a matchup, that's for sure. And Rockland ended up winning that. So it'll be interesting to see if Water Springs can take that next step. Standing in their way is a very sneaky, very dangerous, I think, Coeur d'Alene team. 15-6. They play a lot of just North Idaho teams. They play, some of the Catholic schools from Washington. They did play Clearwater Valley this year, a District 2 opponent, which gives us a little bit of crossover data here. But Gary, Coeur d'Alene got the state for the first time in school history last year. It was their first year of playing basketball as an IHSAA member, so they're 2 for 2 in their young career, getting to state. What do you remember about last year's team?
I remember they were a young team. And the one thing that they've done, when I looked up and tried to compare them with what they've played. They have played no teams in the state tournament this year in the regular season. They have a different schedule in Northern Idaho. So this is all brand new teams for them to scout, and those teams that are going to play them, it's hard to scout teams off videotape. I think it's better when you can go to the gym and scout them. But so we'll see. I think they're definitely an underdog to try to win this title, though.
Yeah, second coach in as many years. Chris Kiefer coached him last year. Austin Paulson now in his first season coaching him. Hayden, these are a lot of names we recognize from football season, right? Grant Clemens, the quarterback. Greg Hayes was his top wide receiver. The one guy that we didn't see in football that is probably their best player in basketball and their top scorer is Jerome Cools, the 6'3" senior. I mean, not only is it a cool name, but he can also play. He's legit. And so if Clemens can facilitate the offense, if Aiden O'Neill can hold his own inside, I don't know. I think Coeur d'Alene is kind of a dangerous team.
Yeah, you're right. And athletes, we saw it on the football field. They typically transfer. If you're a good football player, you typically end up being a pretty good basketball player at, a 1A, 2A school. And that typically seems to be true. I think Coeur d'Alene honestly has an advantage that they haven't played a lot of teams that are similar. I would say that the competition maybe not near as what Southern Idaho has, like what you see Rockland, Water Springs play, but no one really knows what Coeur d'Alene does. They're really athletic, and you can't really you're not going to be able to see it until you're really on the court and you're playing against them, because there's not a lot of tape to even see them play. They don't play at their own gym. Like, they don't have a home gym to play at. And so it's kind of just, it's going to be a real mystery until this team shows up, but they're really athletic and they're good. And you can see it in the chat, Grant Clemens, he's a really good player. It's a tough team. I think they're going to be a challenge.
Yeah. Sam Buffington says Grant Clemens is a dog for sure. And pedigree, of course, his dad, Kellen Clemens, the football coach and athletic director at Coeur d'Alene, played quarterback in the NFL for 10 seasons. So, yeah, I'd say there's some bona fides there with Grant Clemens and the Coeur d'Alene Saints for sure. Coeur d'Alene got to the state quarterfinals in football this past year and came within an eyelash of beating the Cary Panthers. So let's go there next. First, Deb Miller. Shout out to Maddox Miller. Boy, Maddox Miller is the guy getting all the love for the Garden Valley Wolverines. Sam says Hayden stole my thunder, so don't do it again. All right, Hayden?
We'll see, Sam. You have to deal with me every week.
You get one misstep. So, here's more. Go Maddox. Yes, we would love to hear. It doesn't have to be exclusively Maddox Miller comments. If there's another 1A player that you love out there, hop in the chat. Get it
Maybe
going.
There's not one, Brandon. Maybe it's just Maddox all the way.
Hey, I'm just saying, if there's any other fans out there, we definitely want to, because Garden Valley's winning the fan battle right now. Just saying. So, where are my Cary Panther fans at? They always seem to show up in numbers. And here are the Panthers back at state. They've gone through. Dick Simpson coached the team for, I don't know, had to have been 30 years. Got them to state like 26, 27 years in a row. They've missed state the last couple of seasons, though. The last time they made it to state was actually 2023. So they've been on a little 2-year hiatus. But they're back this year with Danny Simpson. That's Dick Simpson's son, coaching them in his first season. He's been a longtime assistant at Cary, so just kind of more of the same at Cary High School. How about this? William Coburn. I think this is Garden Valley starting center, guys. Maddox is the best point guard in 1A. So we love it. And again, Michael Coburn. Garden Valley will win the fan battle and the battle on the court. And watch out for the Wolverines. Here's one from Ryan Skaggs. The power of Christ compels you. The power of core to Christ compels you. So you guys can use that during the broadcast this weekend. Maybe an exorcism or two can be performed. Maybe that's what got Carey back to state, an exorcism. But anyways, they are back with the athletes. Stockton Sears is a fantastic 3-level scorer. They've got, Will Park's only 6 foot and Gabe Saeli's only 6'2", but these are tough football guys that can hold their own inside as well, Gary. It's nice to see the Carey Panthers back at state.
It's reliable to see the Carey Panthers back in state. In my last broadcast, I talked about some schools are football schools, some schools are basketball schools. Carey Panthers they're a sports school. They go to state in just about everything. The girls were there last couple of weeks ago. The boys are there. And when I got the stuff from the secretary, I told her that. She goes, yeah, we're pretty good at all sports. And throughout my years teaching in New Plymouth and work for Idaho Sports, Carey just goes to state all the time. So that means they have athletes, they're experienced, they play well. They're a bit of an underdog. They lost to Rockland, but they did beat Dietrich. So anything can happen in state. Like I said before, the team that plays the best 3 games wins state. Look at the girls in the 1A. The number 4 seed, the number 6 seed made the state championship game. How many people predicted that?
Nobody on this show, that's for sure. Yeah, Hayden did.
Oh, Hayden's claiming that.
He did on the North Idaho Prepcast, I think. So we got some more comments rolling in here from Instagram. Ehall012, Rockland about to cook in that 1A bracket. We're going to get to Rockland here in just a second. Michael Coburn, watch out for the Wolverines. Here's Robert Nelson on YouTube. Corbin Nelson is the best point guard in the state from Water Springs. And I don't know if this is the real Scott Burton or if he got hacked and somebody made a fake account, but it says Go Maddox from Scott Burton W5P. I'm going to assume that's a bot, but I don't know. Interesting.
Are there 2 Scott Burtons out there?
Yeah, maybe your identity.
No way.
That's our Scott Burton for sure, but I don't know, Scott. Maybe check your passwords. You might have gotten hacked. We'll see. All right, so there's Carey. They are going to play Hayden, the Timberline Spartans from Weippe. Very light schedule this year. They basically played their conference schedule and maybe 1 or 2 non-conference opponents, and that was it. They've got good athletes. We know that. Aries Maberly and Taryn Hewitt and Corbin Christopherson, who quarterbacked the team this fall, the 6'4" junior underneath. He to me is the most important guy, because if you're going to want to hang with a Garden Valley or hang with a Rockland, you've got to be able to, handle that size underneath. And so to me, Christopherson's the most important guy.
Yeah, he's really a matchup problem for a lot of teams. I mean, you look throughout the field, there's a lot of not a lot, but there's a couple 6'4" guys throughout the field. Corbin's like, I don't know. I don't want to say how much he weighs, but he's a pretty big kid. I mean, he's bigger than probably anyone else, and he's a lot more athletic than I think a lot of people probably think. He brings the ball up the court. He can shoot the 3. He has an inside post game. He's hard for someone to really match up with, and that's what kind of makes them tough to play. And then you have all these guards around him that are scrappy, they're athletic, they're a hard draw. I think you look at a game they did this year when they played Lapway. They played Lapway twice, and you guys may be able to talk about it in the 2A. Lapway's not in the tournament, but they're one of the best teams in 2A. And they competed with them. They were in the game for 3.5 quarters and couldn't end up finishing the deal, but they have the potential to kind of go on like a Cinderella run.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. We're talking centers, but in the chat, everybody's talking point guards. I'm just ready to see the Maddox Miller versus Corbin Nelson matchup at point guard. Ryan Skaggs says, didn't have a Scott Burton bot on the bingo card. Sean Kane says, of course, Scott has a bot account. I can confirm that was Scott's actual account. So that's good. I'm glad he wasn't hacked. Michael Coburn says his money is on Maddox for that great point guard battle there. Timberline's got a pretty good point guard too in Clayton Hunter. We'll keep an eye on it. You see those 3 championships in school history. Only 1972 came as actual Timberline High School. Pierce and Weep had their own separate high schools prior to that. So those two championships in 61 and 69 were won by the Weep High Gorillas back in the day. So you got to love that. So we love the historical info when we can squeeze it in. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and drop that on your broadcast there, Gary. And finally, let's wrap up with the 1 and the 8. It is Rockland and Dietrich. Gary, let's start with Dietrich. They are the defending state champions in this thing. A lot of people thought it was going to be Dietrich and Rockland in the championship last year. Rockland got sniped by Chalice in the semis, ended up taking third place, and Dietrich broke through and won the championship. But boy, they lost a lot to graduation. They have a sub 500 record. They played a difficult schedule this year, but Dietrich found a way. They didn't clinch until Saturday night. They had to beat Camas County in the district tournament, but they found a way to get back. It is Chase Norman doing a lot of the heavy lifting for this team. What does Dietrich have to do to pull off the shocking upset in the opening round?
Let me tell you what I discovered about Dietrich. They lost their first 6 games of the season. On January 25th, they were 3-10, or January 15th. On January 23rd, they were 4-12. Okay, they're 4-12 with a week to go until February. You think they're going to make state? Absolutely not. Look at them, what they did in the closing season. So what they did is practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. So they got a lot of practice, and they're playing well. It's a totally different team than it started the season with. There's only one problem. They drew a tiger by the tail in Rockland, which is clearly, on paper, the best team in the tournament on paper, but we don't play games on paper, do we? But the other thing about Dietrich is they're a basketball school. Boys and girls go to state all the time. They've won multiple championships, especially the girls. So that little Blue Devil's up on the rim, knocking that ball around, in for them and out for the other team. So I never count the Blue Devils out, but they're going to have to play a perfect game to beat Rockland.
Yeah, until somebody knocks them off, they are the defending champions. Ryan Skaggs says Scott Burton just reached out for $500 in Target gift cards. Again, talking about how he might have been hacked. That's kind of funny. Here's Luke Lehman. I don't know, man. Greenleaf tends to light it up in the third quarter. Y'all were at that play-in game. Yeah, we were there on Saturday, and they slowly pulled away from St. John Bosco in that play-in game for sure. And then let's wrap up with Rockland quickly here. 22-2. Shea Neal, what he does every year, Hayden, Rockland just does not have a ton of players, period. Like, there might be, 12 guys in the program total some years. And the fact that he just continually runs his system, gets every ounce out of his athletes. It's impressive.
Mm-hmm. Did you know he's the most experienced coach in this field right now?
Yeah,
9 years. That's pretty crazy for a guy that's that young. And I think that does benefit him. But this Rockland team they're 8 deep. They don't really have a drop off at all, where I don't know if you can say that about all the other teams. And, they're just a really deep athletic team. And I would even say their best player and their fourth best player, there isn't much of a difference. So it's really hard to match up against them. The thing with Rockland is, I know they got the 1 seed and they're matched up against Dietrich. That's probably the 1-8 seed I wouldn't want to play if I was them, just because I don't know. Dietrich's a tough draw. I know they beat them by 30 earlier, but it's just not something you really would want to match up against, I guess, in a perfect world.
So Dietrich's got nothing to lose, and Hayden's calling the first round upset. That's what I heard. Let's make our official picks here. I'll do it for fun as well. And hey, fans, again, this is just for fun. All right. If you want to come up and lightheartedly give us a hard time, if one of our predictions goes wrong, that's fine. Don't be a jerk about it. You know what school you're from. Okay. We don't want a repeat of what happened during the girls tournament. Okay. We do this for fun. And so I'll start, guys, and I'll take the heat. You guys can come find me. I have no problems. I'm going to go Rockland, and I'm going to go Garden Valley, and I'm going to call. This is going to be crazy. I think Water Springs goes down. I don't think we ever get that great point guard matchup everybody's looking for. I'm going to take Court of Christ in a first round upset. Somebody's got to pull an upset somewhere. And so I'll take Rockland and Garden Valley, and give me the Wolverines. I'll take the Wolverines to win it all. Gary, how about that for a prediction?
Okay. I got the same 2 winning, Rockland and Garden Valley. And if it was the mascot matchup, a Wolverine would kill a Bulldog. But it isn't the mascot matchup. It's the players. Do you realize Rockland, since I retired in 2013, Rockland has been to state every single year except 2020. They came in fourth. They came in third last year, fourth in 24, third in 23, first in 22, third in 21. All their players have experience at state. They know what it's like. Their coach is the most tenured coach there. Everything is pointing at Rockland. So, after I picked the number 1 seed in the girls, and then the number 4 and 6 seed was going to made it to state championship game. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go with an underdog this time. But when I researched it, I just couldn't not pick. There's a double negative. I couldn't not pick the Rockland Bulldogs. Everything's lined up for them. The sun is in Aquarius or wherever it happens to be. It's Rockland's Bulldog year to win their second title, in my opinion.
All right, Sean.
Now here, can I put out to the fans? I'm not rooting for Rockland. There's only one team I ever root for. It's the New Plymouth Pilgrims that I taught there for 32 years. I don't root for the team I pick. I root for a great basketball game that goes to quadruple overtime. We do this for fun. So, I've been yelled at before. It's okay. I got thick skin. But believe me, I am not rooting for the Rockland Bulldogs. I'm just making an educated guess at who might win.
Yeah, this is all for fun. So, Sean Kane says Rockland ran a box and one on Corbin Nelson of Water Springs. He still had 20 points in the district championship. He's taken Rockland over Water Springs, and I've got friends in Garden Valley, guys. Let's go, Brandon. So never thought that would be back in the lexicon, but here we are. Hayden, what's your pick?
I could see Greenleaf Friends maybe making an upset. I think it's on the table to beat Garden Valley once out of 4 tries. I think it's
guess you're not getting a purple Wolverine t-shirt like I am then.
That's all right, but I'll hope for a Rockland Bulldogs one because I think they'll be in the title and I think they'll take on Water Springs and I think Rockland's going to win.
Okay. I like it. It should be some pretty fun matchups and great athletes across the board. You want to see some of the best, toughest athletes in Idaho? You're going to want to check out this 1A tournament. It's at Caldwell High School this weekend. You can tune in to Gary Jones and Hayden Uhlencott live all weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on IdahoSports.com. 2A coming up next. All right. One residual comment from Nick Lehman. Let's go Grizzlies. Greenleaf Friends Academy at state for the first time in a long time.
Oh, by the way, what they're playing for right here, state championship ring.
Looks dapper as always, Gary. So
94 baseball, New Plymouth. Woo!
That's right. Okay, that's what everybody's chasing this weekend. The Jostens glory. So, all right, Gary and Hayden, thanks for hopping on and doing this. We appreciate it.
Love it. Love you guys.
Yep. Last comment here. Shout out to all you broadcasters for showing all of our teams some love. Yeah, appreciate it. This is what we do it for. It's you, the fans, the schools, the communities, the coaches, and of course, number 1, the kids. So we'll be back with our 2A preview right after this. You're watching the 2026 Idaho High School Boys Basketball State Tournament Preview Special live on IdahoSports.com. Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com 2026 Boys Basketball State Tournament Preview Special live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Instagram account, and X account. Brandon Bainey and all of our great broadcasters here live tonight as we are preparing now for our 2A State Tournament Preview breakdown here. And again, as you're hanging out live tonight, we want to hear from you in the comments. Here's a residual 1A comment just saying Greenleaf did beat North Star Charter mid-season. We're going to talk about North Star Charter and the rest of this 2A tournament field here with our 2A state tournament broadcasters. Please welcome to the stage Sven Alskog and Glenn Jones. Sven, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. Better now that we're all on the call here together, Brandon.
Yeah, only 10 minutes behind schedule, so sorry about that. Glenn, my apologies. I know you've got a busy social calendar to keep.
Yeah, yeah. That retired schedule is full all the way to the top.
That's right. Well, let's take a look at this bracket, top to bottom. Kendrick comes in as the defending champs. They're the number 1 seed. They will play Grace in a very interesting 1-versus-8 matchup. The aforementioned North Star Charter Huskies playing Valley in the 4 and 5 matchup. Prairie and Murtaugh the 3 and 6, and it's Lakeside and Rimrock in that 2-versus-7 matchup here. Here's our first shout out of the night from Michelle Nomi. Let's go Lakeside. Sven, what's the first thing that jumped out to you when you saw this bracket come out on Sunday?
Yeah, I think when you look at this bracket, conventional wisdom would say that a lot of people throughout the state are going to pick your, Kendrick, Lakeside, Prairie. I think the North's going to get a lot of love from people that are talking about this bracket, but I think you can't sleep on some of the other teams in the field. And I think for Kendrick, they actually drew one of the toughest first-round matchups I think that you could have. Grace, a very misleading record this season, and they go right to work in the first round against the number 1 ranked team in the state. I think that that's going to be a fun matchup. I also think, you look at North Star and Valley. I think that could potentially be the best game of the first day. So yeah, I look at this field, and I think that on paper, a lot of people are probably going to pick, North teams to advance along, but that's why they play the games, and that's the fun part about these state tournaments.
Glenn, what are your thoughts of this bracket just overall?
Well, it is 2A, right? And I see this as a 2x2x2x2. So what the heck does that mean? I don't know.
I hope you explain it to us.
I will explain it to you. And it's easy as 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 = 8, because we have 8 teams in this tournament. And like Sven, the top 2 teams, they're number 1 in offense, and they're number 2 in, or number 1 or 2 in offense and defense. That's Lakeside and Kendrick. Those guys, talent-wise and experience-wise, they both won state in the last couple of years. You can't put enough emphasis on that. All right. Then you got the wannabes, North Star and Valley. Those guys want to break into the winners column at state tournament. Well, looky here, they play each other, so only one of those guys is going to advance. And then you got in the hunt, we got Prairie and Rimrock. Both those guys rely on defense to get their offense going, and they both play pretty good defense. And then you got Murtaugh and Grace. Murtaugh, they haven't been to state in 15 years. I think, Sven, you were about 12 when last time they went to state, weren't you?
I'm a little older than that.
No, whatever. And Grace, like you said, they've had a heck of a year, and they are like the 1As. We have a team that has a losing record. They're under 500, so they're the wild card in this whole thing. I think Grace, and like you said, it's going to be a great matchup right out of the chute. If Grace can catch Kendrick looking over their shoulder past them, could be a long tournament.
Well, what more needs to be said? Thanks for tuning into our 2A preview, guys. Coming up next, no, I'm just kidding. That was a good breakdown of everything in the bracket, though, Glenn. As you were doing that math, I was kind of picturing John Madden. You see, a 2 + 2 is 4, and 4 + 4
and
is
goes
8.
to the side, and he comes back around this way, and he goes to the tight end.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I'm glad you got to the finish line doing that math problem there. And you correctly identified, yes, there are 8 teams playing. Let's start with the team that is seeded 8th. The team we think has some upset juice here, potentially, Sven, the Grace Grizzlies, 11-13, and boy, they have been in postseason survive and advance mode for like almost a month now. What a district tournament they had with Butte County.
Yeah, they played Butte County 3 times in the district tournament. Those 3 games were decided by a combined 4 points. And you talk about this almost every year across any sport between Grace and Butte County. It is so disappointing that one of those teams can't play at state, because they're always one of the top 8 for sure, both sides. And that's the case this year as well. You look at Grace, I think they're one of the best 8 seeds that I've seen in a tournament here recently. Parker Yost is a double-double machine, 17 points, almost 10 rebounds a game. He's a guy to really watch. Gavin Draper, really good ball handler for them. And then both the Smiths, 9 points a game. So I think that this is a team that is dangerous. And again, you've got to beat the best in order to win a state championship. And so for them, You're going to get Kendrick, defending state champions, right out of the chutes, and I don't think they'd have it any other way.
Yeah, let's talk about Kendrick. They're the defending champs, 20-3 this year. The 3 losses were to Prairie by, I think, 5. They lost to Lewiston by 10 in the championship of the Avista Holiday Tournament, and they lost to St. Mary's, I think, by 6 in overtime. That's 3 other teams that are competing at various state tournaments this weekend. Sven, they bring back basically almost everybody from last year. They lose Wyatt Cook, kind of the starting center, but man, every single guy that's listed in that starting lineup can shoot it from the perimeter, can also score it on the block. I mean, there's a reason they're the number 1 team.
Yeah, they lost a guy, and then they gained Nathan Twite back into the lineup off injury. What a nice addition back into the roster this season for Kendrick, and they really just don't miss a beat. This is a program that is just dominant across all sports. They have what you call athletes. It's simple. I mean, these kids, they're going to be good at any sport they play, and basketball is just another one that they can kind of add to their repertoire. And I really expect this team to make a nice run here in the state tournament. I think that, statewide, most people would say this is the favorite on paper. And, there's so many things that I like about this group, and probably the top of the list is just how well they can shoot the ball. They can really knock it down from the perimeter. And if they get hot, there's not a whole lot you can do to slow them down.
Yeah. Kendrick, don't pay attention to that titles thing. That's obviously a misprint. They've won 8 championships in school history, including 2 of the last 3. 2023, 2025 last year, of course. So looking for championship number 9 in school history. Ryan Skaggs says Tigers and Knights on a collision course. So Glenn, let's talk about those Lakeside Knights. They're certainly no stranger to getting to state. I feel like Tyson Charlie has been there all 4 years of his storied high school career. He and Hala Pion are a really nice 1-2 there for Lakeside. And then it's been, some younger guys that are getting more experience. Furious Louie was a first-time starter last year. They've got this freshman point guard in Tegan Brown. You see there, they've won it fairly recently as well. And so for Lakeside, kind of like we were talking in the 1A discussion, like Court of Christ, kind of tucked away, didn't get to play too many teams. Lakeside kind of stuck to North Idaho this year. They did play Prairie twice, though, and that might be telling.
No, yeah, and they have scores top to bottom. Their team averaged 76 points a game. Are you serious? It's unreal. Tyson Charlie, I believe he's the number 2 scorer in 2A, and they have 5 or 6 guys that go down to the top 15. And so if you stop one person, then he starts banging them. You stop him, this guy starts banging them and knocking them down. And they are for real, and they've got defense too. Lakeside number 1 in offense, and they are number 7 in the tournament team in defense. So, but the difference between number 1 and number 7 in the tournament is like 4 points. So even though they're ranked 7th in of our 8 teams in team defense, they're right there, and they can their record 19-2 speaks for itself. They have state experience. They have a great roster, and I'm looking for a real competitive showdown of the Lakeside Knights.
Yeah. Ryan Skaggs says this is for Kendrick with an individual wrestling title this past weekend. Ian Schwecke, Kendrick could sweep a title in nearly every boys sport in all 3 seasons. They did it last year. They won the team titles in football, basketball, and baseball. And Ryan also says Coach James Two Teeth has an awesome state tournament win-loss record as well. He can flat coach. Lakeside could be up 20. They could be up 2. They could be down 2. They could be down 20. And his demeanor is going to be steady Eddie. He is as calm and cool a customer as there is. And Coach James,
that's called leadership right there.
Yeah, he is. He's a good one for sure. Okay, so back to the bracket. Lakeside is going to play Rimrock in their opening round matchup. The 2 and the 7. Sven, you were able to watch Rimrock play earlier this season. There's a little bit of a caveat with this team. The lineup shifted a little bit in the middle of the season, and this freshman, Rigo Farfan, has really come on down the stretch for Rimrock.
Yeah, Hayes Black, one of the top players in this conference for Rimrock. He's been out for about half the season. And so they've stepped up and brought some guys up from freshman level, and they're playing at varsity, and they've done a good job of kind of keeping things afloat for Rimrock. But I had an opportunity to see them in December. They were playing Horseshoe Bend, and obviously Horseshoe Bend is short on numbers this season, so sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. But just in the matchup, you could see they had height, they had ball handling, and Colton Coates, a guy on the inside, he averages 6.5 points, 6.5 rebounds per game. He's a nice inside option that I think can help them, especially in this game against Lakeside. Lakeside is a team that really likes to push, run. They're not exactly what you would expect to get the basketball into the paint type of team. Rimrock, on the other side, I think that they have some guys that can allow them to get it into the paint. Liam McKeeso is a really good guard for them. I think that he'll be a really strong performer here at the state tournament. And what I think I'm excited about, this is a team that has not made state a whole lot in recent memory. You see that last state appearance, 2022. You go back before that and you have to look a while. And I think that that's something that makes this a special trip for Rimrock. And they're going to give Lakeside their best punch.
Yeah, I think Rimrock is a team that's got some exciting potential, and they've already kind of weathered the storm with Hayes Black, their leading scorer, out of the lineup. They've kind of figured out how to win and how to adjust. And so, yeah, I think Rimrock could be a dangerous team, certainly. They're the Raiders. Okay, we're starting to get some comments in the chat about North Star Charter. So let's go there. That is Rimrock's conference rival, of course. The Huskies, 18-3. You want to talk about, it had been a while for Rimrock at state. I think North Star Charter has only been to state twice in school history. I think they went back-to-back years, maybe 2013, 2014. It's been over a decade since North Star Charter was at state. Andy Horning in his first season. They've had a lot of coaching turnover, but man, they've got some good athletes, starting with Logan Ellis, the 6'6" junior. Here's Boise Logan on Twitter. Logan Ellis is so tough. So is Paul Coffer. And yeah, North Star Charter. All right. This is another team that you've had a chance to take a look at this year, Sven. And they seem to just, they're well coached, and they play really well as a unit. Logan Ellis is obviously kind of the straw that stirs the drink, but Coffer is a good sophomore. Timothy Barros is a really underrated player too. They've got some good athletes in this lineup.
Yeah, and you look, and this is a basketball team that hasn't lost a game since December 19th. And there's something to be said for figuring out ways to win every night. I don't care who the competition is, just the fact that they can go out there and find a way to get the W. That's something that matters. And, they did battle test themselves in the early season too. These guys went against New Plymouth and Melba. Obviously, New Plymouth is going to be a 3A state tournament team. Melba just barely missed out in a tough league this year in the Western Idaho Conference. And I look at North Star Charter, and I think this is a team that has one of those players that you star, kind of when you're scouting these teams. Logan Ellis just is a standout. When you're 6'6", I mean, that's a mismatch at 1A and 2A basketball on most nights. And then you add the athleticism and, the ability to do all the different things that he can do. And that's just, it's going to make North Star Charter really competitive. And I like this first round matchup with them and Valley, because I think that it's a couple of teams who, they look at it and they're like, boy, we go in the first round and we're not having to play Kendrick, Lakeside, or Prairie. And I think that that's what makes that 4-5 matchup kind of compelling.
Yep. More love for North Star Charter from Boise Logan. Logan Ellis is him. And he says, I love Logan Ellis, and then Gage Shannon is my favorite point guard, and tell him I love him. So there you go. Lots of love for the North Star Charter Huskies. Valley saying, hey, we need some love too here, Glenn. This is a Valley team that always seems to get to state, and they always seem to be right in the mix. Brian Hardy, in his 14th season coaching the Valley boys, he coached the Valley girls for a long time prior to that. They always seem to find a way to get to state, and we all remember last year how things went. Valley was the lone undefeated team at the 2A tournament, and they stubbed their toe against Grace right away in the opening round. Now, Valley rebounded to win the consolation title, but for Coach Hardy and the Valley Vikings, they want to make sure they start this year's tournament off on the right foot.
And they have to. And I think one thing going for them, this is their third year in a row at state. And so they had players on their team that have been there 2 and sometimes even 3 years. So they have that state experience. They know what state what state tournament is all about, and they play really good defense. I was reading a quick bio on them, and that's one of the strengths that the coach said of his team is their defense. And what's the old saying? Defense wins championships.
That's
there
right.
You have it. Hey, I wanted to say, I told you I was going to say something about Liberty Charter. One quick note on North Star Charter. There's been only one charter school since 2013 that has an opening round victory in the state tournament, and that's Liberty Charter over Grace in 2013. So there's a little bit of a kind of a hill to climb to get that monkey off your back for North Star. And if any team can do it, these boys in North Star can. But boy, to shake that monkey off your back, ask someone like Phil Mickelson.
I would extend that to maybe the entire District 3 Western Idaho Conference. It's just a conference that seems to get to state and struggles to get any traction going sometimes. So because there's so many good teams from the north, like Lakeside. Here's Roxanne Pluff. Tyson Charlie and Hala Pion are the two from Lakeside that have made it to state for the fourth time. Very proud of our Knights and can't wait for the weekend. Thank you for this, guys. Yeah, thank you. And I love the Lakeside fans. You came down and supported. I was broadcasting the 2A girls basketball tournament 2 weeks ago, and the Lakeside fans came down in big numbers, and I'm expecting more of the same for the boys for sure. So looking forward to that. And then finally, the last matchup to talk about is Murtaugh and Prairie. So let's start with, speaking of, long tournament streaks here, Sven. 2011 is the last time Murtaugh made it to the big dance, and yet here they are with a first-year coach and Adam Stanger, and they lost to Valley in the district championship. They won the regular season title in District 4, had to earn it the hard way. A fourth quarter comeback that they'll be talking about in Murtaugh for a long time against Hagerman in the district tournament to decide who gets to go to state. And so this is a Murtaugh team that's battle-tested and ready.
These are the kind of teams I enjoy watching in a state tournament because you don't see them there very often. We kind of talked about it with Rimrock as well. But, Murtaugh is a team that can come in, and I think they can give Prairie a game in the opening round. It's going to be a tough challenge for them, obviously. Prairie is a team that is just perennially at the state tournament. So they've got guys on the floor that, are really experienced. And sometimes that makes a difference. But you look at this group that's on here, your projected lineup that you put out, Brandon, they're all juniors and seniors. So these guys from Murtaugh, they have experience too. They just don't have it at the state tournament level. And, on the opposite side, we were just talking about Valley. Valley lost a lot from last season, but I think it's a testament to just how good of a job Brian Hardy does year in and year out leading this group. You see 14 seasons. He's also one of my favorite athletic directors in the state. You go to Valley, and he'll set you up. He'll get you the ice cream swirl. He'll get you some Skittles, maybe some Mountain Dew. And he produced one of our broadcasters, Jason Hardy, his son. So really, all in all, just a great guy. So yeah, I'm a little biased on Valley, but I just wanted to get back to that before we moved on too far here.
No, it's all good. Murtaugh is going to be a fun team to watch for sure. More Lakeside love in the chat as well. Let's go Lakeside Knights. And then, Murtaugh gets to play Prairie, a team that has pedigree, right? Look at that, 5 championships in school history, but it has been a minute since Prairie has gotten to state, 2021. Recently, it's been Kendrick and Camiai and Potlatch. Those have kind of been the teams, the powers from the north that have gotten to state. So those are the ones there. And so here's another comment from Instagram. Let me throw it up on the screen real quick here, guys. Not that. 1 second.
That was
here.
a good message, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This is from Jay Alsterland. Hardy equals great coach. So just to echo what you were saying there about Brian Hardy at Valley, but Tim Scheffler in his second season with the Prairie Pirates. And this is a team that Glenn goes 6'5", 6'5", 6'5", with Riley Shears, Patrick Schlater, Nate Forsman. Nobody is going to be able to match that size.
No, and that goes to the kind of defense those guys are playing this year. The Tri-Pirates, I call them. 6'5", 6'5", 6'5". Are you kidding me? Man, if they don't win the Windex Award for cleaning the glass, then they ought to throw this basketball game away because these guys are all big. They got Forsman, Schlater, and Shears. it's going to be fun to watch these guys go at it, and if they play their game, it's going to be a fun one. And this game, Prairie versus Murtaugh, unless they bring up some players that we don't have on our roster, they might carry a couple extra coming into state. There's not a underclassmen on either team. They're all juniors and all seniors. And that's something I don't think I've seen in a long, long time, but especially the smaller schools not having an underclassman on there that's been a real contributor to the team. It's pretty amazing that these guys are loaded with experience. And boy, if you have those guys playing together, team chemistry, look out.
Yep. More comments rolling in here from Instagram. Kylie Bell 82, Sven's the best. Scott Burton disagrees. He says, Svenny, I'm not your favorite athletic director.
Point of clarification. I said one of the best. And to be fair, I've never worked with Scott in an athletic director capacity. So maybe at some point that'll happen, and then I can comment on Scott being an AD.
Okay.
Can I throw my hat in the ring as a retired athletic director as well for my school?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I don't think anybody wanted to see what was under that hat, but there we are.
There you are.
When Darth Vader takes off the mask in Star Wars.
Oh my!
Just a shriveled head. Oh boy.
The unveiling.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Margaret Sidejohn, can't wait to watch the Lakeside Knights. And Ryan Skaggs says the chef, Tim Scheffler, is cooking in Cottonwood with those bigs for the Prairie Pirates.
I like that. That's a good one. Hey, and another comment here. Schlater and Forsman, you kind of watch Prairie. If you just don't have numbers on the backs of the jerseys, you almost think these guys are clones playing out there. Very similar style, really good crash into glass, nice players on the inside. And then Schwartz, you saw him in the play-in game against Compass Charter this weekend. He can really hit the three-point shot. Really, really effective from the perimeter.
Yeah, the Prairie girls kind of had the twin posts that looked similar, played similar in Kylie Shoemaker and Sage Elvin last week too. So yeah, it's interesting to see it on the boys' side as well. All right, guys, it is time to make our predictions here. Glenn, you're ready. Go to it.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought you were going to lead us off here.
I can go first. Let's see. Kendrick Lakeside, and I'll take Kendrick. I mean, this to me is one of the more clear-cut. I would love to see some crazy upsets, but to me, it looks fairly clear that Kendrick and Lakeside are kind of a class above everybody else this year.
And who'd you take?
I took Kendrick. All my Lakeside people are going to hate me for that, but it should be fun.
Okay, so maybe this will get you back on the good side. When I saw this, let me first start this. Gary and I did the state championship, and we were doing the 1A D1s or whatever the heck they were, or D2s, I guess, when Nathan Twite was a freshman, and they won that tournament, and he was our MVP, and we looked at each other and we went, "This guy's a freshman." He was the tournament MVP when they won, and then they got second, and they won last year. And then you look at them again, and they're the names there. There's Kep and Rotzensender and Twite and all these guys and Silflo, and just going, they have a huge bench. And I'm a guy who I love underdogs. I love to coming in here and pick the 6th seed to upset this guy and go to the state tournament. But I'm with you. I think it's a clear cut one step up with Kendrick and Lakeside, and I was all set to go with Kendrick and put a feather in the cap of watching Nathan Twite come in and then watching him go out. But the more I sit here and think about it, I'm going to go with Lakeside.
Okay. Ryan Ortiz says, all my money's on Lakeside, and you were ready to put that Kendrick feather in your cap, but then you took off your cap. And so by virtue, you had to go with Lakeside. That's the story there. Sven, I know you love making these predictions. So
yeah, it's the best part of the job. I love it when Brandon says we have to make predictions on the shows. I will say I did pick the championship game right for the last classification I had. I did not pick the winner correctly. So we'll try to nail the winner here. Doing some final research before I unveil my pick here. So I wrote down something earlier, and I thought I knew who I was going to pick here. And then I listened to you guys talk, and I decided I would kind of maybe rethink where I was at here. So
that's why I took Lakeside. I'm right there with you, Sven.
So here's my thoughts. I look at Kendrick, and they've played Prairie a few times this year. They beat them by 23 in the district tournament. They lost by 4 at home actually on February 6th, and then Kendrick defeated Prairie 60-47 on January 16th. So they've played 3 times. Common opponent, Lakeside, has played Prairie as well. They won 62-36 on February the 5th in Cottonwood, and then 68-53 on January 23rd. So little wider margin of victory on a couple of those. I also think that they're really battle tested against some good teams. They defeated Bonners Ferry out of the 4A 70-66. That's a team that may win that classification. I'm going to pick Lakeside, and I think they're going to beat Kendrick in the state championship game.
Okay, I like it. Ryan Skaggs says Kendrick versus Lakeside is the game we need. If anyone knows how to beat a favored defending champ in a title game, it's James Two-Teeth. They did this to Lapway 2 years ago. Lapway had Case Wynot and all the stars, Elias Yearout, and it went to overtime. Lakeside got him by 2 in overtime, so they have done this before. So we'll see.
I got one more thing before you go, Brandon. I know we're off the air. Ready? Can you see that?
Yeah, let me make the screen bigger.
Hiking Idaho 7 Devils by Gary Jones. It's a great book. You got to go out and buy it.
Okay, but you two are the worst marketers ever, because this is twice now, Gary. 2 weeks ago, now you haven't told anybody where they can go buy the book.
Anywhere where good hiking books are sold.
Gary,
I have some in my garage, and I undercut Gary's price by $5. So if you find me, you can get him cheaper.
2 weeks ago, Gary said it's the REI in Boise. I think he actually did it. Glenn out here just nobody knows what we're even promoting. The people that didn't watch the 1A last time are thinking,
hey, here it is. Hiking Idaho 7 Devils. You Google that, you'll find it. REI, any place hiking guides are sold, Gary has your book.
Gary says.
And be sure to read the forward. It's really good. I wrote it.
Oh, if we needed another reason. All right. On that note, it is time for our 3A basketball breakdown, which features the St. Mary's Lumberjacks and their standout post, Landon Ribrick. Landon Ribrick is 6'7" from the man himself. So with that in store, let's take a look at the 3A brackets right after this. Sven Alskog, Glenn Jones going to be broadcasting 2A state all weekend for us. We appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hopping on.
Thank you.
He's out.
All right. 3A preview coming up next. It's the 2026 high school boys basketball state tournament preview. Glenn's just leaving. All right. See you, Glenn. We're back after this on IdahoSports.com. Welcome back to the 2026 Idaho High School Boys Basketball State Tournament Preview Special, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account, making our way through all of the state tournaments this weekend. It is time to talk 3A state basketball, and we've already got some 3A comments rolling in here. Here's Gabe Montero, Ryrie and Firth for the 5th time. Can't wait. Timothy Parrish, the voice of the St. Mary's Lumberjacks. Let's go Lumberjacks. Yes, this is going to be, I think, one of the more fun classifications this weekend, because to me, it looks pretty wide open. Let's bring on our 3A state tournament broadcasters for IdahoSports.com this weekend. They did such a great job on the 3A girls. We decided let's keep the pair together for the 3A boys. It's Paul Kingsbury and Lace Morrison. What's going on, Lace?
Well, hey, good to see you. My sound's working this time, so that's nice.
Yes, you're already off to a better start. So.
I've improved.
Paul?
You know, I was worried about us maybe putting out a bad segment, but after watching the 2A, that bar got set pretty low. So I think Leif and I can do sock puppets the rest of the time and still get a better grade than that 2A segment.
It's all about who you follow in the batting order. That is.
It really is. It really is.
All right. Well, Let's take a look here. All sorts of St. Mary's, and we always get great participation from St. Mary's. Just saying, all the other 3A fan bases out there, if you want to outwork St. Mary's in the comment department, you're going to have to get to it. Here's Landon Ribrick, their standout center. Let's go St. Mary's. Dustin Chase, Coach Chase chasing the win. Yes, it's going to be so great to see Brian Chase back at state, the head coach at St. Mary's. Here is a Ryrie fan, Cooper Brown and the Ryrie Bulldogs. We want those 3A shout outs to keep on rolling. And as you're hanging out tonight, hit that like button too, would you, if you're on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube, and then share this when it's all said and done. That will help everybody else find this a little bit easier on replay. Jessica Bowler says Lumberjacks, green and gold. Sammy Sint says Brian Chase is a pretty cool coach. Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy too.
Pretty cool guy.
Wyatt Helm, this is the Idaho Sports All-Star crew. Maybe if Wyatt were here with us.
Minus
right?
one, yeah, minus one.
One guy short. So let's take a look at this bracket, guys. Oh, that is the 2A bracket. That's not helpful to anybody. Let's bring on the 3A bracket and talk about what I think is going to be one of the most wide open classifications that we're going to see. As I mentioned, to me, there's I look at almost every team in the field and go, yeah, this team's got potential for sure. So here's the 3A bracket. St. Mary's the 1 is going to play Parma the 8th. I mean, talk about a tough 8 seed right away. Ryrie and Firth for the 5 millionth time. Orofino and New Plymouth. And then you've got Wendell and Soda Springs also for the 5 millionth time. Gotta love it when those district rivals get slotted against each other right away in the opening round. More comments here. Let's go Jax from Angela. Will Hennicky says, to be the best, you got to beat the best. Let's go Parma. And Ryan says, if there was an over-under on 3A, take St. Mary's, and I'm hammering the over. That lineup is so lethal. Throw Coach Chase in there. So, Paul, what was the first thing that jumped out to you when you saw this bracket come out?
What you just said, I've read online a few times that people think that this is such a hugely wide open bracket. And I guess I'm more of a cynic. I'm not thinking that. But they're all good teams. They're all here in that top bracket. That top side's almost like the girls in the 3A where you've got your number 1, and then you've got a couple teams that could have been 2, that Ryrie Firth. That's going to be a very good game. Parma has a shot, depending on scoring. But looking at this, you got 5 teams coming back from last year. You got Soda, Wendell, New Plymouth, Orofino, Firth. Firth got 3rd, I think. Soda was consolation. Of course, Wendell was the 3 seed last year and ended up winning. Now they're a 2 seed, coming back, defending the championship with a lot of the same kids with another year of experience. They got 2 kids that are over 2 twins, or 2 kids that are twins, over 1,000 points. It's not an easy thing to do. So it's going to be a fun tournament. I guarantee that. Top to bottom, it's going to be a very, very fun tournament. There's not going to be a lot of bad games, I don't think, which was true with the girls' side as well. But I don't think it's as wide open maybe as people think.
Leif, why is Paul wrong and why am I right?
I'm almost siding with Paul on this one. I think there are going to be a lot of really competitive games, but in my mind, there are 2 teams that really stand out here, and they have a number 1 and a number 2 next to them. And it's going to be a showdown. I don't think any of these games they play are going to be easy, but those 2 top teams are really, really good. And then the record shows it. How they've performed all season shows it. They've been able to stay healthy. I think there's going to be a lot of good games. There might be some upsets in there, but it's a number 1 and number 2 are going to be really, really tough to beat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just start there then. Let's start with St. Mary's. They come in as the number 1 seed. They're 18-3. Brian Chase in his 12th season, missed out on state last year, guys. They lost to Marsing in the state play-in game. They got knocked off at districts by Orofino, got to the play-in game, lost to Marsing, kind of a rare blip for St. Mary's, because otherwise they've pretty consistently not just been to state in the 12 years that Brian Chase has been the coach, but they pretty consistently get to the semi. And of course, occasionally gets the championship. I was on the call for that championship in 2021, only their 2nd in school history. And that was kind of a special season. And this one could be a special season as well. Paul, when we talk about Coach Brian Chase, it's been in the media quite a bit in North Idaho, but maybe statewide folks don't know. But Coach Chase has been battling cancer this season and battling a lot of health problems, and is still out there coaching, leading this excellent program. And so I know he's got the entire, not just St. Mary's community backing him up here, but like all of North Idaho as well.
Yeah, they do. And if I remember right, back in 21, and it might have been a couple of years ago, whatever, during the preview show, they had the whole team together at the house. If I remember, it's the right team, all watching the preview show, which was cool. They sent a picture in. You know, he's not just been doing well. I mean, we follow each other on Facebook. He's been playing a lot of golf. He's a lot of golf out there, so that's good. So, I mean, yeah, it's that feel-good story, and he's a good guy, you know. And so he's a number 1 seed, so everything is basically lining up for that for St. Mary's in a championship game. I don't know who's going to play him when they make the movie. That's not really my decision. I'm sure there's a lot of great actors that could do it, but it could be that kind of season for St. Mary's if things go well this week.
Yeah. Amber Needham says, let's go Jacks. # Team Gustav, Isaiah Gustav, the 6'2" senior, of course. And here's Christy Chase. Never underestimate the heart of a lumberjack for sure. And yes, it's a nice story, but it's also a really good team, Leif. JJ Yearout is one of the better players in the classification and certainly in the state. He made that statewide all-star basketball game. Landon Ribrick, 6'7" junior underneath. Sloper is a dog defensively. Jack Barta, and then his twin brother Brock Barta comes off the bench. They're both stud athletes. I mean, this is a really, really good team.
Yeah, they're well-rounded too. They got 3 guys that average over 9 points a game, and then JJ putting up 21 points a game is just an absolute problem anytime he's on the field. So a matchup problem at 6'2" that can move and shoot and play. Like he's a problem and really pass as well to these guys that can make buckets from anywhere on the court. So it's a really solid lumberjack team. They did lose to Orofino earlier in the season by 5 points. When was that? The beginning of the season, by 6 points. So there are weaknesses there. Orofino obviously found them, and then they got beat down 42-68 the next matchup that they had. The Lumberjacks kind of got revenge on that. But they're a really good team, really well-rounded team. And in order to beat them, they're going to have to miss shots. So for the Lumberjacks to lose, they're almost going to have to beat themselves in this tournament.
Yeah, Ryan talking about what gets lost on folks is how solid St. Mary's is off the bench as well. They can go small, right. They can go big. They have the flexibility to match teams in multiple ways, and they run a really good pressure defense as well that generates a lot of good looks offensively there. So, So let's talk about St. Mary's, their first round opponent, Paul. They're going to play the Parma Panthers. Parma got the state by winning the district. They won the District 3 championship. They came into districts as the number 3 seed. They took out Ambrose along the way. They took out Melba. It was just kind of a scattering of vanquished opponents for Parma at the District 3 tournament, 14-10, and they've got maybe the best pure scorer in the tournament in Nathan Compass, the 6'3" senior.
Yeah, and we've always talked about it's all about how you're playing at the end of the season, especially in districts to get to state. And Melba comes in number 1. They've got a bye, and then they lose to number 4 Ambrose. And then they get kicked down, and they just lose. And Parma beats number 2 New Plymouth, and then Parma ends up beating Melba for the championship. Then New Plymouth beats Melba for that 2nd seed. So it was Melba's to lose, and they did. And so now you've got the number 2 and the number 3 seed representing the WIC, which is another cool thing about this bracket. You've got 2 teams out of each conference, which is cool. And so you're going to have those conference matchups in this tournament a few times. And we'll talk about that Ryrie first one playing for the 3rd time in a row and 5th time this season. But yeah, Parma, they've got a great scorer, right? One of the best scorers in the state. Yeah. And then they've got a couple guys that score, 10 points a game. So, and Compass, he's used to teams basically running a reverse box and 1, where they've got 4 guys guarding him and 1 guy running around, waving around the others basically. So the rest of the team is going to have to score. And he's going to get his, if they can hold him to 12, 14 points, yes, the other team's got a shot. But he's just such a good player. The other players are going to have to step up.
All right. It's going to be interesting to see how Parma does against St. Mary's out of the chutes. Let's talk about the other team that made it from District 3, the Pilgrims from St. Mary's. The Pilgrims from New Plymouth. Gary Jones says, let's go Pilgrims. Love to see Paul announce his alma mater's 2nd state championship. Of course, the only championship in school history, as we show on the graphic, will be from 1993. Paul, you were a member of that state championship team.
You could call it the practice squad and the bench squad. But yes, I was one of the guys in uniform on that team. It was fun. Are they going to win it this year? No. I'll just definitively say that now. Do they have a good team? Yeah, they got some good players, but this is a tough bracket. It's a very tough bracket. And I've seen New Plymouth play this year. They played Melba. Guston, King, Robinson, Evans, big kid. Robinson, big kid. Myers, that kid can shoot. So they've got a lot of good players playing together and being able to play from behind. Maybe coming into state, you've got a lot of teams with big kids, and in the WIC, you don't have that a lot. And so they had that advantage in a lot of games they played this year. And let's say they go against a St. Mary's, they yawn at that height. They're like, okay, we have two guys that can guard your big guys. So it's going to be a test for the Pilgrims to see if they didn't just do well in the WIC because it was the WIC and coming into the state tournament. I think they're going to do well. I think they're going to play great. But they're one of those teams that everybody's saying, yeah, everybody's got a shot in this tournament. And unfortunately, only one's going to win.
Yeah, New Plymouth, third coach in 3 years here. They had Jeff Lavender for a really long time. And, he decided to move on there. And then Chad Mann was the interim coach last year, did a really good job. Thought he could maybe be the full-time head coach of Plymouth. Said, we're going to go in a different direction. So here's Brad Adolphson, who had coached at Nampa High, the Bulldogs, the last several years. And done a nice job with New Plymouth here out of the chutes. So let's talk about New Plymouth's first round opponent here.
Orofino.
Bring up the bracket here. Yeah, Orofino. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by all the comments that are flying in here from the Ryrie. Don't worry, we're going to get to Ryrie, all you Bulldog fans. Don't worry. Here's the bracket. Yes, they're going to play the Maniacs from Orofino. And this is a really intriguing team to me, Leif. This is a team that's beaten St. Mary's this year. This is a team that's been to state. Last year they got there. They haven't won since, that dynasty in 1949 and 1950, those back-to-back years there for the Maniacs. But these guys have had a lot of success in baseball over the years as well. Yeah. Quentin Aranio was on the state championship baseball team a couple of years ago. Jake Rooney is really good. Nick Bonner's awesome. I think Orofino's got potential. I think people are sleeping on the Maniacs a little bit.
Yeah, and they're definitely on the rise. I mean, they went 9-14 last year, 18-5 this year. The head coach Barlow is doing a really good job there, but again, they're just not. They don't have a lot of experience at state. They went 2-out last year. They got guys that can really play. I mean, if you're looking at Bonner and Barlow, those guys put up 10, 15 points a game. They do a really good job, but they're going to have to get hot if they want to win games in the tournament. They can't just play average, Orofino Maniac basketball. They've got to really show out and show up and play. And they're a little bit undersized, even though they got a couple guys that are, 6'1", 6'3". If you look at the size of the people in this tournament, like Paul and I might got our lunch money stolen multiple times.
Oh yeah.
This week.
Yeah. And it's not going to be a fight. We're just going to go, yes, sir. Take it.
I'm actually bringing extra lunch because
that's smart move.
Counting on it. Yeah.
Smart move. But you're right. So they're not big but they're good shooters.
Yes.
And so to really come out and especially going up against New Plymouth on that first game, New Plymouth could just go inside and move on to that semifinal the next day. But if Orofino comes out and shoots lights out, they're going to have to shoot well. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. Orofino's going to have to shoot well to do well in the tournament.
Okay. Here's Dory. You're out in the chat. Let's go. Jax will be there to cheer you on. That's the St. Mary's. Okay, here's all the Ryrie Bulldogs. David Miney says, go Cody Landon and the Ryrie Bulldogs. Casey Landon says, go Bulldogs as well. So let's talk about Ryrie and Firth, guys. All nuclear conference first-round matchup here. Ryrie comes in 15-9. Jordan Hamilton in his 7th season. His brother, Logan Hamilton, the head coach at Madison, and then they both work on the family farm as well. So they, it's a farming family, and then they coach basketball in the winter. Hey, it's a lot of the guys we saw from state football, Paul, including the famous Ian Johnson. Remember, there was Ian Johnson for Nampa Christian and Ian Johnson for Ryrie. And
Yeah,
so,
that was fun. Yeah.
yeah, Ian Johnson is back for Ryrie here on the basketball court. The Landon guys are there, Coulter Lewis. But here's the storyline. Ryrie and Firth play the Nuclear Conference. It's a true double elimination district tournament. So Ryrie beat Firth in the first kind of undefeated semifinal. Firth then had to come back through and beat Ryrie not once but twice. They beat him the first time. Ryrie beat them the second time. So they literally played 3 times at districts in the span of about, a week? And now they're getting matched up at state again? That is cruel and unusual punishment, Leif.
Yeah, well, Ryrie's been – I mean, they did lose 42-44. They lost by 2 points, the second time they played, but they have absolutely punished Firth all of the other times they've played them, beat them by an average of almost 14 points. I mean, their next matchup after they lost, 50-37 and then 55-33. So Firth's really going to have to show out if they want to get that victory against Ryrie. Ryrie has had their number the last couple times, and you never know what that loss was. Maybe they found something, or maybe some guys were injured or sick. But, I mean, they have beat Firth pretty handedly most times they've played them this season.
Gabe Montero, standout athlete at Ryrie, says, go Bulldogs. Paul, you have any Ryrie comments before we move on to Firth?
No, I mean, you can see they've got 6'2", 6'4", 6'5". They're big, but they're big. I mean, they're strong. I mean, like we talked about the football thing. They're not that wet noodle type of height. They know how to ground and pound on the court as well as the football field.
Yeah, and let's talk about Firth. They come in with an identical 15-9 record. It's very eerie. After so many years of Scott Adams and almost all of those championships you see listed on the screen were won by Coach Adams. A couple were before his time, but Sean Ellsworth was an assistant, slides over to the top chair this year, gets him back to state. This was the most surprising to me because Firth, to me, brought back so much from last year's team. I mean, they brought back almost the entire starting lineup. I think Maddox Howell was like the 6th man, or Quentin Hall was the 6th man of the year. And it just, I don't know, it's looked good at times this year, Paul, and at other times it's looked a little clunky.
Yeah, they brought back some all-conference guys, like you mentioned. Hall, that 6th man of the year. It's a tough conference. Nuclear Conference is always tough, and they did a pretty tough schedule. They're throwing in the Declo, South Fremont, Malads. I mean, they played pretty tough schedule coming in. And that iron sharpens iron. Maybe those games against Ryrie are going to help them in the end. Back when they were winning those championships, they had T-shirts. If you're not Firth, you're second, and that can be true. This year as well. I mean, they're one of those that Ryrie, Firth. Sure, Ryrie's beat them, but it's a state tournament, and so I think those 2 games, games 2 and game 3. Are the 2 games where I go, I don't know, but we're gonna see, because even in my mind, or Leif and I talking to each other, off air, going, yeah, I think this team's gonna win. I can't do that with game 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And then we do have an all District 5 rematch as well in our final first round matchup. Soda Springs and Wendell. The Cardinals come in. I think this is another one of those dangerous teams that this tournament is filled with high impact scorers. Cooper Thompson, just absolute bucket getter for Soda Springs, and they've got some good athletes along the way as well. Soda Springs gets Wendell here. They dropped their most recent game to Wendell by only 10 points. And of course, we're going to talk about Wendell and the route they had to take to get to state. In fact, they only played Wendell once in the regular season, Leif, because Wendell, this happened in girls basketball too. They don't play everybody in the conference twice like everybody else. And so they kind of just play everybody once. And so I don't know, Soda Springs and Wendell, and let's talk Soda Springs first, and then we'll talk about Wendell. But this is a Cardinals team that I think is pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. I mean, the Cardinals have 4 guys that are averaging almost 10 points a game. And when you have 4 guys on the court that can put up numbers like that and maybe explode for 15 or 20 or 25, as a defender, that's tough, because you can't just key on. They don't just have the one shooter. They have an actual team of guys that play really good basketball. And so if they can put something together, they can make a run in this tournament, but it's going to take – somebody's going to have a night. They can't just put up average numbers. They're going to have 1 or 2 dudes that are just having a night in order to get past that first round matchup, which is a tough one.
Yeah, some residual 2A comments here. Donald Meyer says, good luck, Valley Vikings. Jasper Abuan, Lakeside Knights. Jasper, both of our broadcasters picked Lakeside to win, so you're going to love that. You can go back and watch our 2A segment anytime on replay at IdahoSports.com's YouTube channel, Facebook page, or X account. Gabe Montero says, nuclear conference is like the NBA playoffs. Ryrie in Game 5 here. So, yeah, best of 5 game series. And then, Paul, you were courtside for Wendell last year. Wendell was a team that had really seized momentum at the right time. They finished, I think it was 5th in the regular season standings, got to district and just started shanking people left and right. Finally kind of realized all that potential, got to state, played Declo in an all District 4 championship game. Declo was a team that had bested them a couple of times. It goes to overtime. Wendell gets the win. Now the shoe's on the other foot this year. Wendell's the defending champs. They're taking everybody's best shots. They go into districts not as the number 5 seed, but the number 1 seed. Declo is now the lowest seeded team. Declo knocks them out in the first game at districts. Wendell's got to come all the way back through. They get to play Declo for the right to go to state on Saturday. They get revenge there. And so to me, I would say Wendell would be a prime upset candidate against Soda Springs, except for I think that loss at districts to Declo really got them refocused and locked in.
Yeah, I don't know what happened on that game. I mean, they lost. They were the number 1 seed. They lose to Declo 61-57, so it's close. Mm-hmm. But so that district championship was number 3 versus number 4, Soda versus Declo. Soda wins in overtime. So Wendell gets shot down to the bottom, and they have to beat Malad, beat Westside, beat Declo, and they beat them all handily.
Yeah.
Basically saying, okay, that opening game, we're just forget it. And then they had to play those 3 extra games. So playing 3 extra games before you head to state is rough. You know, that's not what you want to do. But that gets them here. And now they got the number 2 seed opening up against Soda, who lost their last 3 games of the regular season and then won 4 in a row in that district tournament. So districts were just crazy this year, at least in the 3A classifications.
I know they were crazy everywhere, as we'll talk about at 5A coming up here as well. And here's Joe U91U. Wendell brings back, I think I said that right.
What was that?
Was there a 9er in there? Were you
Is there a 9er in there?
Yeah. Wendell brings back all the players who won the championship last year. Take the Trojans. Yeah, those 4 J's: Jordan Swainston, Jonathan Swainston, Jet Jasper, and Jarrett Borges. That is a really good.
Look how balanced that is. You got your 2 great guards, 5'9", 5'10", and then you've got 6'4", 6'5". So you can go inside, outside. It's just a well-balanced team. Very.
And the 5th guy, Martin Nava, 5'10" senior, he's winning in basketball. Yes. He's winning in soccer too. He's part of that soccer.
Super good defensive player. Yeah,
he's part of,
he can play.
Yeah, part of that soccer powerhouse that Wendell's had the last couple of years. So, all right, guys, it is time to make our predictions here. I've been going first on all of these. Do you guys want me to go first again, or do you guys want to jump in?
Of course we do. Of course we
do.
Go
ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
I will go with St. Mary's, and I will go with Wendell. Really chalky here. And, of course, St. Mary's is the one community in Idaho I've got sort of a soft spot in my heart for. That's where my father-in-law graduated from school. I was on the call for the last championship. I would love to see the Lumberjacks come through and win another one. And so I will take St. Mary's, the sentimental pick, over Wendell in the championship.
Yeah. Same. I could expound on that, but it can be either. I mean, and if there's going to be an upset in this tournament, I think it could be Parma if Compass absolutely lights it up, right? But if it could happen. But I think, yes, in the end, it's going to be a true 1-2 championship. I think it's going to be an instant classic. Mm-hmm. But they got to complete that story. St. Mary's with the championship.
Leif?
Yeah, I'm going with the 1-2 matchup as well, but I am going to pick Wendell. I picked Wendell last year, actually. I think they were the 5 seed somehow.
You got to keep going with them, right?
And I'm gonna ride with Wendell. They're fun to watch. Gosh, they just play such tough basketball, and they play hard. They're gonna be tough to beat, but I think it's gonna be a fun tournament. There's gonna be a lot of really great games, and really a lot of these games could go either way. I think they're gonna be really close. But yeah, St. Mary's, Wendell. And I think Wendell's going to edge him out. Hopefully another double overtime instant thriller at the Idaho Center.
Yeah, how fun would that be?
Oh, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, Wendell's got those Swainston twins. Each crossed 1,000 points in their career this season. Jonathan did hit in 3 years because he missed his entire sophomore season with an injury. So it took Jordan 4 years. Jonathan says, yeah, I got mine in 3. So
Yes.
that'll be fun. All right. Paul Kingsbury, Leif Morrison on the call for the 3A boys state tournament from Meridian High School this weekend on IdahoSports.com. Thanks for hopping on, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Always a good time.
All
Can't
right.
wait.
Lance Taylor has patiently been waiting to break down this 4A bracket. He had all these notes prepared to talk about Sugar Salem and Check's notes. Oh, Diggers aren't there. We'll see what else Lance can come up with here. Yeah, that's pretty rough. 4A state tournament preview.
Nobody from Sugar's watching anyway. You're fine.
That's
Right.
true.
4A state tournament preview coming your way next. It's the 2026 Idaho High School boys basketball state tournament preview special on IdahoSports.com. Welcome back to the 2026 Idaho High School Boys Basketball State Tournament Preview Special, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. It is time to break down the 4A State Basketball Tournament. We are bringing on our IdahoSports.com 4A broadcasters for this weekend, Lucas Gebhardt and also Lance Taylor. Guys, what's going on?
Just getting ready to broadcast some games. That's what we got going on.
That's right.
Busy week, basketball tournament central. Second state tournament, Big Sky tournaments in town Saturday. That's a big deal for us too in Boise.
Right.
So tournament time.
I know my Montana Grizzlies have been struggling lately, but they did beat Portland State over the weekend. So
yes, they did.
Yep. And Portland State's struggling at the top of the standings right now too. They depending on how things shake out, they might stumble their way into that 1 seed on the men's side. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. This 4A bracket, guys, I love talking about the teams that are here, but a lot of the conversation is about who's not here. Sugar Salem is not here for the first time in a couple of years. Teton got the district championship over Sugar Salem in a very low-scoring game. Neither team got to 30 in that game on Saturday. So you knew whoever won that between Teton and Sugar was going to get the number 1 seed. So Teton gets the number 1 seed. They're going to play Filer, the number 8. Gooding and Bonners Ferry, the 4 and the 5. You've got Snake River and Marsh Valley, the 3 and the 6. And then Coal Valley Christian and Homedale, little all District 3 first-round matchup there with Coal Valley Christian and Homedale. So, Lance, what's the first thing that jumps out to you when you look at this bracket?
Well, with the exception of the 4-5 seed, which is Gooding and Bonners Ferry, there is going to be no feeling out process in the first quarter between these other teams. Yeah, Teton and Filer didn't play this year, but they've played a lot in the past. They know each other really well. They have a lot of opponents in common. I think we are going to see a very high-scoring first round because there's really just the one game. I think we'll see Gooding and Bonners Ferry kind of spend that first quarter kind of figuring each other out just a little bit. The rest of them, they all know who each other is. They're going to come out and go at it.
Lucas, what are your first impressions of this bracket?
Yeah, I looked at the bottom half of the bracket. You have Snake River and Marsh Valley and Coal Valley and Homedale. Lance kind of touched on it too. 4 schools that are very familiar with each other, these 2 games. Both those games, that's going to be the 4th time this year that these 2 teams have played each other when they tip off on Thursday evening. For some of those schools, it's going to be the 4th time in about a month that they've played each other. So, yeah, not really a feeling out process. If we are going to see an upset in the first round, I think it comes from the bottom half of that bracket just because of the familiarity these teams have with each other.
Okay, so let's start there then. Let's start on that bottom half of the bracket. And let's start with our all-District 5 matchup here, Snake River and Marsh Valley. Lance, let's start with the Panthers, a team that, despite going 16-8 this year, just didn't seem to get a lot of respect as the season went along. All the talk was about American Falls, which didn't even make it to state. And so go ahead.
Well, I think at the first of the year, maybe Snake River had a little bit of a harder time. Just, their plays were great. They just struggled to put the ball in the hole. Coach Coombs, great coach, got them going towards the end of the season. Very, very tough. I like the Marsh Valley kids as well, but the Snake River team right now is just playing too good, and they're too big. I think that first round, Snake River moves on.
Yeah, Lucas. I mean, Hunter Thomas at 6'7" would be a treat, but then you pair him with the 6'10" junior Bridger Howard. I don't know if there's going to be a taller player at any of the state tournaments this weekend.
They're definitely a tall team for sure, And then the other thing that Snake River brings to the table is just the experience of being at the state tournament. This team has gone to 4 or 5 straight state semifinals, 8 of the last 10 state semifinals, I think. So this team not only knows how to get to the state tournament, but they know how to at least get through that first day. They've won all kinds of state championships. I remember covering them quite a bit when I was in Pocatello covering all these Eastern Idaho schools. 8 state championships for Snake River, but they have not won one since 2013. So they would love to get back there. They have the most experienced coach in the field, and Bob Coombs, who's over 33 seasons, longer than I've been alive, as he's been the coach at Snake River. So, definitely the most experience, at least from the coaching side for Snake River, which that stuff matters when you come to the state tournament.
And Coach Coombs, I believe, is Idaho's all-time winningest coach, over 5 career victories as well. It's just astronomical to think about. So, right, let's if Marsh Valley's going to do this thing, Lance, I know a lot of things got to fall right. They do have some good. Jackson Smith is a dynamic player. Tate Whitworth is a steady presence. What does Marsh Valley got to do to pull this upset?
Well, they've got some very good players on this team, and Chris Ball is a great coach. If they want to win this game, they're going to have to turn it into a track meet. They're going to have to get up and down the floor, get easy buckets in the transition. I think really that's their only way to win this. They've also got to fundamentally box out because if they just try to out jump, the players from Snake River, well, the 6'10" and 6'7" guys are already up there. And so you got to fundamentally box out, make those bigger players reach over you if they want to get a rebound. But I think really Marsh Valley is going to have to turn this into a track meet if they want to win this game.
So Snakes swept Marsh Valley this year, but 3 totally different results. A 30-point win, 62-32. Another double-digit win at Districts, 46-28. But then a 49-41 kind of nail-biter. That was in Aramo in February. But we'll see. Cameron Brower in the chat says Snake River is better than their record shows. They are much improved from the beginning of the season. Their height gives them an advantage for sure. So we got some residual shout outs in here as well. I want to make sure, like Dietrich, shout out to the Dietrich Blue Devils and especially their seniors, Morgan Denning, Chase Norman, and Ben Wilson. Let's go Devils. Jody, we talked 1A basketball some time ago, but you can go back and watch this anytime on replay and see all the Dietrich love that we gave to the defending state champions there. So Lance Taylor wins the best dressed award for the show tonight, Paul says. Lance.
Always.
And your reward is you get to talk first about this Coal Valley Christian Homedale matchup. So let's talk about the Chargers, who are 19-4, another team that I think kind of in a crazy way flew under the radar this year. There was
I think they did too. I had a chance to see them last year. I thought they were a good team last year. They were young. They were returning a lot of players. In fact, of all the teams that are at the tournament this year in 4A, they're the ones that I'm most excited to watch because I have not seen them play live this year. Most all of these teams I've seen play live. Those that I haven't, I've seen play on video. But I'm excited to see this Coal Valley team play live.
Lucas, these guys are pretty much in your backyard. They got to state last year. Of course, they were previously a 3A school and had a lot of success. That's where their championships came. And then they did move up to 3A or 4A now and haven't really seemed to miss a beat.
I mean, they have an excellent coach, a coach in Leif Karlberg who's got experience coaching at the collegiate level. And the other thing this team has, it has depth and it has size. I mean, you can see it on your screen there. That's the size of their projected starting lineup that we have there for Thursday. I haven't gone and done all the research on all these teams to see how tall everyone is. That's got to be the tallest lineup in the tournament. Pretty much everyone over 6'3" or higher, and then they have a guy coming off the bench as well. That's and Madden Compton, who has an offer from LCSC up north in Lewis Clark State College. I mean, just think about that. Your first guy coming off the bench has an offer to play NAIA college ball. So he's a player that their coaching staff says has accepted that sixth man role. Probably could start on pretty much any other team in the state, but they feel like their roster is better with him coming off the bench, and their coaching staff says that he's done a great job of accepting that role. And they really feel like they have some really good team chemistry coming into this tournament. So I really like the length of this team. I like their depth. I like the fact that they've played 2 3-day tournaments in the season already. They went up to Alaska to play a tournament. They played in a tournament in Capital earlier in the season too. I think this is a legitimate state championship contender this year. I really like Coal Valley a lot.
Yeah, that tournament they went to in Alaska, hosted by the Grace High Grizzlies, just like our Grace High Grizzlies down here in Idaho, but it was the Alaska Grace High Grizzlies. And yet, here's Homedale standing in their way, Lance. You've been doing the 4A tournament for a long time, and Homedale always seems to be there, and they always seem to be pesky. They're kind of like, I call them, they're in the neighborhood. They're an in the neighborhood team. They're always in the neighborhood, always kind of hanging around, always lurking. I don't know. They've got potential.
They do. They're always loaded with athletes. They don't necessarily always have the most basketball players on their team, but they have tremendous athletes. And one of the things, athletes can do is play defense. Sometimes scoring doesn't always come the best if you don't have a lot of actual basketball players. And I'm not saying they don't have good basketball players on their team. They certainly do, but they're always loaded with athletes. And, man, they can get in your face full court, make it awfully tough on you to put points up on the board.
Yeah, and of course, some of these names we recognize from football season: Tice Fisher, absolute devastating linebacker; Alec Campos, great receiver DB; Lucas Hall, kicker, punter, tight end, DN, did it all for Homedale in football this year. And Homedale had a lot of success on the gridiron this year and trying to translate that to the basketball court as well. And now if we go to the top half of the bracket, guys, Lance, let's talk about Teton. This is a team you've seen a lot this season, a team that, again, we knew whoever won that matchup between them and Sugar Salem was going to be the number 1 seeded state. I did see some fans on social media say the real 4A state championship just took place on Saturday night, in Teton and Sugar, and that's all fine and well, but now Teton's got to hold up their end of the bargain if that statement wants to come true.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Teton's a great team. I've had a chance to watch them 5 different times this year. They're loaded with athletes and basketball players. They're a very good team. You talk about that low scoring game in the last game. It was 29-28, very low scoring. And that's not because Teton and Sugar can't score. They can put points up on the board, but they are absolute defensive dynamos. You want to have a defensive clinic? Wait till you watch this Teton team play. They will show you a defensive clinic. They are in your face. They are physical. They are fast. Very, very good team. It's hard to stop them from going to the hole on offense. Coached really well. Jay Silver's done a great job. But those athletes, Luke Nelson, Bradley Brown, Kenny Coons, just tremendous athletes. Just in general, I mean, this is a pretty special team. It's unfortunate Sugar couldn't make it as well, but you knew either the number 1 or the number 2 team in the state was going to stay home this year. Obviously, there's some changes proposed for potentially next year, so something like that doesn't happen. But Teton's very good.
Yeah, for sure. And Teton missed out on state last year. They lost to Snake River in the play-in game to get to state. But when they made it 2 years ago, they got all the way to the championship in 2024 and fell to Bonners Ferry. And so speaking of Bonners Ferry, let's talk about the Badgers, Lucas. This is the team that comes in as the 2-time defending state champions for this classification level. They've gone back-to-back in 24 and 25. Here's the thing, though. Suley Abubakari is about the only guy back from those 2 championship teams. Everybody else is gone, including Asher Williams, who's lighting it up at Montana Tech right now. And it's a new coach as well. Coach Nathan Williams retired after his son was finished playing. And so it's Greg Kissy leading the charge. Bonners Ferry went 12-8, and if you just look at the record, it's somewhat deceptive. They played a very rigorous schedule for a North Idaho team, and they had to win a play-in game to get to state, and so they earned it with the play-in game win over Weiser.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the wild card in the tournament for me, just because out of the 8 teams that have made this tournament, this is the team we probably know the least about, and it's because they play a very heavy out of classification and out of state schedule. You just have to do that when you live 500 miles away from the nearest school that made this tournament, right? So I mean that's just the reality of it. But you're right, Abubakar is a 6'7" stud down in the post. He's probably going to be one of the best players in the tournament. We saw him play last year, but a lot of changes with this Bonners Ferries team. After winning those back-to-back state championships, lost almost their entire rotation, really, plus their head coach. So they're going to have to make some adjustments. Some new guys are going to have to step up. But that being said, this is a team that I think when I look at them and I analyze their numbers, it's just a weird team to analyze because I don't feel like their points per game or how much they give up. I just don't feel like it means anything. And like, here's kind of the point I'll make is they give up almost 65 points a game. That's ranked dead last out of any team in 4A, but they've only played 4 4A games, and they've only played 2 4A schools in Timberlake and Weiser, and one of them was in the state playing game. So I look at that number and I'm like, are they really that bad defensively? And I think they're better than what that number indicates, but just goes to the overall point that it's the mystery card for me. I don't know really what we're gonna get from them, just because we just don't have the same data points that we have on any of the other 7 teams.
Yeah, for sure. In the chat, Cameron Brower, if Teton plays to their potential, they'll be playing in the championship, hoping to see them bring home the first boys basketball championship since 1997. Great team overall. Dan Rudolph Jr. says Peyton Hinthorn's been balling for the Badgers for 3 years. Yes, I should say Abubakari and Hinthorn have kind of been complementary players the past couple of years, and now they are the alphas. And so that's been a role change a little bit, and a lot of the alpha and the scoring and the leadership has gone. And so it's been nice to see this new group of Badgers coalesce this season.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Lance, you'll remember this, right? Because you did the tournament last year. The Bonners Ferry had the tournament MVP. They had the 6th man, and they had, I think, another 2 or 3 guys on the first or second team.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. I mean, they got not only Asher Williams playing at Montana Tech, they got 2 players playing down at Treasure Valley Community College off that team as well. So I mean, that's a good group. That's a good group that they graduated. But there's a pretty dang good group they got coming back too. We don't know a lot about a lot of them. Bubakari, we know about Hinthorn. He was there, but really beyond that, there is some mystery there. I think of all the teams in the tournament going in, at least for Lucas and I think they've got more questions than answers of all the teams going in.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. And let's wrap up with our 2 teams from District 4 here. We got to start with Gooding. Man, what a feel-good time, Lance, for Coach Ryan Pope. He's been coaching a long time in the state of Idaho. Gooding had not been to state since 2017. And not only do they get the state, they do it by winning the regular season conference title, winning the district championship. And this has been a fun team. Eli Esterbrook over 1,000 points in his career. Bridger Pope, of course, Coach Pope's son. Cougar Stockham is a great track and field athlete, good football player, just a solid athlete all the way around. This has been a really fun team to progress this year.
Yeah, it has. In fact, when they went to the state tournament in 2017, that was the first time they'd been since they won the state championship in 1986. So, I mean, this is Gooding program. I think Ryan Pope's the right guy. Get him back there. He's the principal there at the school now as well. I've had a chance to watch them play this year. This should be a very interesting matchup with Bonners Ferry and Gooding, because Gooding's another one of those teams that's going to challenge you 94 feet. And they're going to challenge you at the rim as well. They're going to force you to play defense. They're going to force defenders to make decisions. I've always said one of the important things when you run an offense is you have to make defenders make decisions. If you don't make them make decisions, then they can't make a bad decision. Ryan Pope will force Bonners Ferry defenders into making decisions. It's just the way he's always done it. He won a state championship when he was, coaching at South Fremont. Of course, did it with his son, Alec Pope, who was a junior on that team as well. And so, he's coaching his son again here, his youngest son. This Gooding team is kind of my dark horse in the tournament.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. And then the other team that made it from this district, Lucas, is Filer. They come in with a 10-14 mark. But again, they played a very tough schedule. It's kind of the opposite where we were talking on the girls preview show. Kimberly and Filer were the two teams from District 4, and Kimberly was the sub 500 team with the rigorous schedule, and Filer was the team with the beefed up win-loss record on maybe a softer schedule, but it's the opposite for the boys. Filer really challenged themselves. Rob Anderson in his 9th season pretty consistently gets Filer to state. This is a tough team as well.
Yeah, tough team for sure. I think it's a tough matchup for them going in against Teton. Certainly the playing the underdog role in this bracket. You see on the screen there, 10-14 record against 4. And they scheduled a tough 4A schedule, but they are 5-10 against the 4A this year, and that's my concern with this team. They played 6 games against teams that are in this field. They do have a win though. They did beat Marsh Valley. A couple losses to Snake River, a couple losses to Gooding, and then they split with Marsh Valley. So can they beat a team in this bracket? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're here at the state tournament for a reason. This is a team that they won the right games. They kind of stumbled their way into the district tournament. They lost the opening game of the district tournament, but then they beat Buell and Kimberly and beat Kimberly pretty decisively. 70-46 was the final in that one to advance to the state tournament. So what that tells me is it's a team that can buckle down and face some adversity, which as an 8 seed, you're going to be facing some adversity when they play that top seed in Teton. And for me in that matchup with Teton, Filer's going to have to jump on them early. You know, if there's one thing that worries me a little bit about Teton, it's maybe a little bit of a hangover coming from that District 6 tournament. That's just a gauntlet of a path to get to the state tournament. So Filer's going to have to take advantage of that. Filer's going to have to take an early lead and try to hold on for their game against Teton.
So you mentioned their record against the 4A field. They have been in a lot of games this year, though. They lost to Sugar by 12, and as well, they lost to Sugar by 6. They lost to Snake River by 9, and then Snake River by 6. They beat Wendell, probably the 2A champs, or the 3A champs, maybe in double overtime at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. They lost to Marsh Valley by 10. They lost to Gooding by only 5. I don't know, Lance. I think, is it crazy to think? I almost think if anyone's going to do it, there's going to be an 8 seed over a 1 seed this weekend. It's going to be Filer over Teton.
Oh, Rob Anderson is certainly a good coach. Been a friend of mine for quite some time now. In just reality, I don't see it happening, but it could. They're a good enough team that they could step up and do it. I think Teton will overcome, but Filer, very, very worthy team.
Okay. Make sure you hit that like button as you're hanging out tonight. If you like our analysis, if you like our 4A discussion, hit that like button on Facebook. Share this when it's all said and done, please, and thank you. Here's Lance Smith. Jackson Smith is scary, quick, and fun to watch.
He is. I've always liked Jackson. He's always been one of my favorite kids from the time that kid was a freshman. Gosh dang it, he's not a very big kid, but he gets after it on the floor. I love watching Jackson play.
He's a 1,000-point scorer in his career as well for Marsh Valley. So, all right, guys, it is time. Here's the bracket. Let us make our predictions. I've been going first all night tonight. I can continue to do that if you guys want, or if one of you want to take it, you can.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
All right. I will take from the bottom half of the bracket, I will take Snake River. And from the top half of the bracket, give me Teton. But I think Teton's going to be pushed, not just by Filer, but whoever wins that Gooding Bonners Ferry. I think it's going to be a very tight rope that the Teton's going to have to walk. And give me Snake River. I don't know, something about the Panthers this year. I know it's been a while since they've actually won the title, but I'll take the Panthers over the T-Wolves. Lucas?
Okay. Yeah, I'll start at the top here. I do like Teton to beat Filer. I think the Gooding Bonners Ferry matchup is interesting. My one concern with Gooding is who's going to guard Bubakari. He's 6'7", and Gooding doesn't have a lot of length. I think you had on the graphic their tallest guy in their projected starting lineup was like 6'2". So I'm going to take Bonners Ferry in that game. I'll take Teton to the championship. Yeah, you see it there. I mean, the tallest guy in the starting lineup 6'2", so who's going to guard him? That's my one concern there. Bottom half of the bracket, I will take Snake River to beat Marsh Valley, and I will take Coal Valley to beat Homedale. I do think those games will be closer, just because we mentioned 4 times those teams have seen each other. And then I'll take Coal Valley to the championship, and I like Coal Valley this year. I'm going to take Coal Valley. I talked to their coach earlier this afternoon, and he kind of sold me on them. So I'm going to take Coal Valley. I like their length. I like their scoring threats. They're deep. They've been to these 3-day tournaments twice before the season. So I'll go with the Chargers.
Okay. Lance?
I'm going to take Snake River out of the bottom part of the bracket. I have a hard time picking against Bob Coombs. When it comes to going deep into state, he's one of my all-time favorite coaches. It's when he does decide to step down, hopefully not soon, but when he does decide to step down, it's going to be a big loss to the coaching ranks. But I'm going to pick them to come out of the bottom half of the bracket. I'm going to pick Teton out of the top, and I believe Teton will win the championship this year.
Okay. I like it. 3 totally different picks. So that's good diversity. And there's all sorts of diversity in the 5A bracket. Who's going to win that thing? Who knows? If you were a district favorite, chances are you either survived a very tough road or you didn't make it. So we'll talk about the 5A bracket right after this break. Lucas and Lance, you're going to be calling the 4A bracket all weekend at Eagle High School. We appreciate you guys hopping on. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. We will talk to you guys later, and our 5A preview coming up next on IdahoSports.com. Welcome back to the 2026 Idaho High School Boys Basketball State Tournament Preview Special, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. It is time to talk 5A basketball. We do have some residual comments coming in here. Penny Coon says, let the fun begin. Go Teton for the 4A. And how about Morgan Maltos, blue and gold? Let's go Wendell Trojans for the 3A state tournament. But it is time to talk 5A state basketball. Let's bring on Ryan Luke. Ryan, you and I are going to be calling the 5A state tournament this weekend. I'm pretty excited.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. My mic wasn't working previously because I can hear you. This will be fun. I'm excited. 5A is one of the most fantastic classifications of basketball. So you and I get the wonderful opportunity to do this thing.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting bracket for sure. There was some wild stuff that happened at districts across the state for sure. Yeah. Let's take a look at this bracket here. Boy, I'll tell you what, there were a lot of ruffled feathers on social media about the number 1 and number 2 seeds. I think ultimately, if you're 1 or 2, doesn't matter. You should get to the championship, and then you settle it. Lewiston's the 1, Preston is the 2. You've got Bishop Kelly as the 3 seed. And really, District 3 goes 3, 4, 5 here. Bishop Kelly, Columbia, Valley View. And then Twin Falls, the 6, Bonneville, the 7, and Burley checks in at the number 8 seed. What was the first thing that jumped out to you, Ryan, when you took a look at this bracket?
Well, you just said it, 3, 4, 5, right? You have Bishop Kelly, Columbia, and Valley View, who, if you look, they beat each other up all year long over here in the Valley, in the Treasure Valley, and doing it kind of at different style. Columbia and Valley View will look a lot like each other in terms of style and the way they play, but Bishop Kelly being bit of a tactician in terms of the way they execute their offense. Then I would say the second thing that stands out, and you and I talked a little bit earlier today about this, was the fact that Preston dropped to the number 2 seed. And no disrespect to Lewiston, but you said it and I said it, and I was trying to do the research on it. We don't know some of the teams as well that Lewiston played, and therefore Preston dropping to that number 2 seed. Power rankings, IdahoSports.com has Preston as 1, and Lewiston all the way down to the number 5. Max Preps has Lewiston number 1.
Yeah, I think ultimately what it comes down to for Lewiston is the fact that they played some really good Washington schools. They play Clarkston, which is always a really good Washington team. They played Ellensburg, Washington earlier this year at the Avista tournament. So it's those out of state opponents for sure. Here are some Lewiston Bengal fans in the chat. Go Bengals. Hashtag Team Fish. That's from Julie Fisher. Yes, we're going to be talking about Royce Fisher and the Bengals here in a second. Dan Rudolph Jr. says go Bengals. And here's Ryan Skaggs. Brandon, 12 hours later, Baney. So, hey, we're giving the people what they want, and that's good. You're not going to find analysis like this anywhere else in any other type of medium, all right? If you want to hear about every single team and not just, oh, yeah, this team went 12-2. We talk about the actual players, the coaches, the storylines. So I would challenge you to find a more in-depth, comprehensive breakdown anywhere else. That is for sure. To me, the thing that jumped out to me in this bracket was kind of the war of attrition here, because as I was watching all the 5A teams throughout the season, I was like, yeah, Lewiston's pretty good. Preston obviously has some talent. Twin Falls, I think, is going to be pretty good. So seeing Twin Falls on the 6th line, to me, that doesn't quite compute in my brain. Just watching Twin Falls, I'm like, they're pretty good. Blackfoot is the team that's kind of missing from this thing. In fact, that entire East Idaho tournament in District 6 was crazy. You had the number 4 and number 3 seeds, Bonneville and Shelley, playing for the district championships. Hillcrest and Blackfoot, the 1 and 2, had to play each other in a loser-out game. And then Hillcrest ultimately, they fall short in their quest to get to state as well. And then against Blackfoot, and then Blackfoot loses to Burley in the state play-in game on Saturday, because I was looking forward to seeing Blackfoot at state. They had played Preston tough this year. They had good potential, but you have to win your play-in games. They were given the opportunity, and so now it's Burley that's kind of seizing the momentum here. But to me, I have no idea what to make of this bracket. You mentioned BK, Columbia, Valley View. They all tied for first place in District 3 this year. It came down to a tiebreaker. Columbia won the tiebreaker. Columbia and BK played in the district championship. Valley View had to go all the way to North Idaho and beat a really good Sandpoint team in the state play-in game. It was the second time they had played Sandpoint this year, Ryan. They played at the Title I Tip-Off Classic in Idaho Falls as well. How often do Valley View and Sandpoint get to say, yeah, we saw each other twice in one season? So it was just kind of a bonkers year, and this to me is one of, if not the most unpredictable brackets. This could go any number of ways.
Yeah, you make really good points, and in terms of overall skill level, I think you can see some teams have different strengths over others, better defensive teams, etc. But quite frankly, I think the skill level is extremely high for each of these teams. And if I had to pick a team that maybe, like you said, Twin Falls, their strength of schedule wasn't great, but they played really well all season. They have some matchup problems that they pose towards Bishop Kelly. Bishop Kelly is a team that comes in and has some shooters. They have some nice big pieces, but they're not a team that's going to blow your doors off in terms of getting up and down the court. And so you just don't know. I mean, is one style going to be better than the other when it comes to this tournament? And in these state tournaments, one of the biggest things you have to look for is what's your depth, and can you pace yourself over the course of 3 days?
Yeah, we're getting some comments here. Riley Wardle says, go Burley Bobcats. Hayden Eulencott says, talk about wild play-in games in 5A. No shot clock to end the game between Valley View and Sandpoint. And Hayden was broadcasting that for us on IdahoSports.com. They had no shot clock. They were kind of just keeping it at the table, which is an interesting way to finish. Tori Peterson says, go Bees, the Bonneville Bees. Okay, and here's Dan Rudolph Jr. Lewiston played Lake City and Post Falls, the top, number 3 and number 5 teams in 6A. Not sure why we always get the Lewiston doesn't play anybody thing. Okay, first of all, that's not what we said. What we said was Lewiston plays a lot of opponents that we don't know a lot about. They do play a lot of Washington, Oregon, out-of-state schools that are hard for us to compute sometimes, whereas the teams that play in Idaho, we're more familiar with the Idaho teams. I'm not saying Lewiston didn't deserve the number 1 seed. I'm just saying Preston is the team that comes in as the defending. Like, if there were an actual selection committee, I think even Lewiston fans could admit this. Preston is the defending champion. They've had some nice wins this year. The records are pretty much the same. I think it's 1 versus 2. Honestly, if you're good enough, you're going to get to the championship. Like, it shouldn't matter if you're 1 or 2. Lewiston came in as the 2 seed last year, and they went 2 and out. So I'm sure that was an experience that's fueled them all off season, Ryan. And now they're back and they want to finish the job, as it were, or take that next step. And there was a lot of talk last year about Lewiston and being, kind of underrated and snubbed by 5A basketball fans around the state. And so this is Lewiston's opportunity to go out and prove it after they went 2-0 last year. It is a really good team as we start breaking down our teams here. Royce Fisher is kind of the cog. He's the tallest guy at 6'4", but he's more of a wing, and he's their best 3-point shooter. In fact, he went off for 30 points in the district tournament and so against Sandpoint, and just can absolutely shoot it lights out. He's committed to LC State there in Lewiston. Blaze Hepburn's an absolute stud. Jordan Walker's a really good table setter. I do think this is a team that's got good potential.
Good potential, and I don't think that there's a dominant big. There are some dominant bigs in this tournament, but the way that these guys play, they have to match up well. Lewiston does, and like you said, if they can swing the ball, run 3 and D, right? I mean, that's the name of the game these days. And if you can stretch your big, and you're big at being at 6'4", and he can get out and he can run and can shoot some threes, you have an opportunity to create matchup problems, creates lanes for passing lanes, and so Lewiston has some great pieces, and they played teams, and you talked about it, from Oregon. Pendleton, they played Pendleton. I don't know anything about Pendleton, I'll be honest. Like, my focus is on Idaho, but I know that they beat them, and they beat them badly, and so that says something about the way that this Lewiston team plays other teams from other states. And then the teams, they took care of business in the state of Idaho as well. So I don't want to say too much against this Lewiston team. Like you said, 20-3, only losing 3 total games. And where did they go? They lost to Rocky, a good 6A school, 63-58 on 12-16. They beat Clarkston, the number 14 team in the Spokane area. That was one of the teams in the greater Spokane area that they did end up beating. And then they lost to the University High School, I guess is how you would say it, the University High School in December. So, their losses were to decent teams. And that being said, I think they're riding a lot of momentum coming into the tournament.
Yeah, University is in Spokane. They're University High, the Titans. They're 15-10 currently. They did play some really good teams as well outside of their classification. I think that helped them. I think people have asked me for years, what's the code to Max Preps rankings? How do you get a good number? I think the answer is you want to play teams that are going to stack wins. It doesn't matter what classification. So Lewiston played Bonners Ferry. They played Orofino. They played Kendrick. And yes, those are smaller schools, but they also went out and won a bunch of games at their respective levels, which I think increases Lewiston's overall number there as well. So this is a Bengal team that, yes, if they can shoot it well from the perimeter, I don't think anybody's going to stop them. The question is, against the bigger opponents inside, how do they handle that size? They do have some size that comes in off the bench, some 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guys, but it's going to be interesting for sure. So Lewiston's the 1 seed. They are going to play Burley, the number 8 seed. Let's talk about these plucky Bobcats. They beat Blackfoot in the play-in game, and this is a team that is actually, I think, matches up with Lewiston fairly well, because this is also a team of a lot of guards, basically. Jake Seeley, Jake Redder was kind of the stud in the play-in game against Blackfoot. Riker Page and Nash Gillette are probably their 2 best guards. This could be a true battle of which team is hotter from the arc.
When you are an undersized basketball team, you don't have, say, the big coming in and banging, grabbing rebounds, altering shots, those types of things. You have to do everything really well, which means fundamentally you have to swat at every ball. You have to box out. You have to get position. You have to be in the right place at the right time. And Burley's putting it together at the end of the season. And I think that that's what we're seeing. They're, like you said, plucky. It reminds me of a Timberline team from a couple of years ago that the tallest player starting against Hawaii in the state championship at the 6A level was 6'2". I mean, they may be 6'3" with shoes on, but really playing well and neutralizing some of the talent. And they did that with good defense. I see a lot of that in this Burley team. If they can stay the game, stay the course, hit their shots, maybe shorten the length of the game, right? Keep your possessions, utilize the shot clock. They have an opportunity to make some noise.
Yeah, the last time Burley got to state, it's been a couple years. The last trip was in 2022. How long ago was that? Max Stannard was coaching the Bobcats. He's now the coach at Twin Falls High. So let's talk about the Bruins here. Max Stannard in his 3rd season. This, to me, is the team that I think has the most sleeper appeal. This is a really dark horse. If this team is playing for the state championship, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. I mean, look at that size. Trey Billings at 6'7", and he's a guy that can play on the outside and really shoot it as well. James Dunn is more of the forward, as it were. And then Ty Hess, senior quarterback, senior point guard, steady Eddie, and Jordan Bingham is a really high volume scorer as well. In the Twin Falls conference this year, the Great Basin Conference, Burley was the other team that got to state. Minico was down a little bit. Jerome, Mountain Home. They can't control their conference, but they did play Preston twice this year. I thought they played pretty well against Preston in the two matchups. And I don't know. When I look with my eyes, Ryan, Twin Falls is a team that jumps out to me.
Yeah, they create they truly have a matchup problem, and Trey Billings averaging 17 points a game this year. He does it, leading scorer, leading rebounder, and he does it with his athleticism. Like you said, he can light it up from the outside. So a big that can move and at that height can create his own shot. Tough to defend a guy that can shoot over somebody and get any shot that he really wants, per se, meaning shooting over the opponent. You're right. Twin Falls has a chance. If Trey gets hot, if James Dunn can play the typical big role at 6'6", he kind of stands out in this 5A crowd. I mean, like I said, there are some bigs, but not a typical big as you would see top to bottom. And you're right. Twin Falls could actually make some noise. And I like the idea of Twin Falls coming in for an upset, coming in and pushing Bishop Kelly right off the bat. I think that's a tough matchup for BK.
Yeah. Here's Dan Rudolph. Trey Billings, an absolute beast. I watched him with Select this summer. He's special. And I always, it's usually a good indicator. Twin Falls went to the Tarkanian Classic in Las Vegas in December. Teams that are, you don't just get to sign up for that and go. You have to be a good team to get invited to that. So, I mean, that is also an indicator to me that, okay, Twin Falls must be pretty good. Bishop Kelly, of course, is always good, though, in everything for eternity. And so here's BK at State, 18-6 this year. They did win the District 3 championship over Columbia this past Friday night. They're a team that always gets to State. They didn't make it last year, but they've been pretty regularly through the years. And yet they have only won 2 championships in school history. They're great at getting to State, and then they always seem to run into a buzzsaw here. I think this is a team that I think has a lot of potential. I think it's unfortunately a tough matchup right away for Bishop Kelly. Andrew Johnson, the 6'4" senior center, is a really fun player to watch. Owen Graves is a good table setter at the point guard spot. To me, the question is BK going to be able to score enough to hang with a pretty good Twin Falls offense?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And I said right off the bat, BK is a tactician. I mean, you look at any sport that they play, they're going to be well coached and they're going to execute and they're going to do it very well. And whether they have the elite talent or not, or the guy is irrelevant in this type of system, in the whole ecosystem of the BK athletic department, because they get in there and they do their job. And coming in and winning District 3 tournament, I think, and playing the Columbia and Valley View, which both teams are fantastic. We'll get to them in a little bit. But coming in and winning that, and then on top of that, a team that didn't get enough love, that probably didn't meet their own expectation, was a Middleton team that had a bunch of really good players and didn't even make the tournament as well. So they are battle tested, and they will be able to make up, my opinion, they're going to make up for some of the deficiencies that they may have in terms of like the scoring, or, matching up with Billings or some other scorers in this tournament. And they'll just do it with volume. The other thing too, BK is pretty deep. I mean, they'll play 10 guys. Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a drop off, but Coach Ammon in his first season is pretty comfortable deploying any of those 10 guys in any type of situation for sure. So, okay, well, let's continue the District 3. Columbia and Valley View get each other right out of the gates here. Columbia is another team that when I watch them with my eyes, Ryan, I go, this team's pretty good. This is a team that I think has the bones to go to State and compete. Max Keller, really good underclassman, really excellent junior, kind of leads this team. They've just got a bunch of dogs. They're going to defend you. They're going to throw everything at you, and they're a tough team to play. Twin Falls did play Columbia earlier this year in Columbia, and they got out of there with a 1-point win, 63-62. This is just like a team that like nobody wants to face, because they're just going to make you work for everything.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. They're going to beat you up. And I don't mean that like physically take a shot at you, but they're going to beat you up. They're going to wear you down, and they're going to grind you. And again, we talk about the lack of size with a lot of these teams, but they don't need it. I mean, the style that they play is they grind you. They'll do the little things well. They're going to make you work for it. They lean on you. And if you've never seen a team that leans on you, quite literally, they will lean on you. It doesn't matter if you're down low or where. And it just wears you out. By the end of the game, you're going, man, that was hard fought. And Columbia did that all season long in District 3, fought really well. And you saw that Max Keller plays really hard. They have some other really good pieces. And very deservedly getting to the state tournament. And we'll see what kind of noise they make. The 17-7 record is a little deceptive because that District 3 just beat each other up, right? It's kind of like a Big 12 in college basketball or an SEC. By the end of it, you kind of get, you have a bunch of losses, but they're all the really good teams. And so that is a little bit deceptive playing in some of the other conferences. This would be a 4 team, 21-3 team. They were that good.
Yeah, you look at the losses this year. They lost to Bishop Kelly in overtime in the SIC championship game. They led late. Bishop Kelly had to make a shot basically at the end of regulation to send it to overtime. They lost to Eagle in overtime this year, a 6A school. They lost to Twin Falls by 1. They lost to Preston by 1. They played Preston at the Preston Indians Classic, Preston's tournament they host in December. So they've lost to Twin and Preston by 1 each. Yeah, this is a good team. And yet, every once in a while, they do stub their toe, like against Valley View. They beat Valley View the first matchup this year, 74-66. Valley View got them back in the rematch in February, 79-67. So this is the hard part here is now, okay, you get Valley View again for the third time this year. Valley View is also a team I look at, and they're a team I look at and I go, they should be better. Like I look at Columbia and I go, yeah, this team's good. Valley View, with everything they brought back, Betancourt, Hogg, and Mitchell and Wilson were all conference players last year. They all returned. So I thought Valley View was going to hit the ground running this season. And they just seem to be a team of fits and starts and stops and starts this year.
Yeah, again, I'm going to say the exact same thing. They ran a gauntlet of District 3, and they played some really good teams from that district. And like you said, they stumbled their toes. It's when you have to prep for a good game week in and week out, or game in and game out, knowing you're going to get a battle. Sometimes it is tough. And you're right, they did stub their toes. Great teams will overcome that. Great teams will take that and win those games. But Valley View, like you said, has some really good pieces that again, Wilson, Mitchell, Hogg, Betancourt, Gutierrez has been solid for him this year as well, just a sophomore. And they've done some great things. But again, it's kind of a team that, like you said, should be good, but it reminds me a lot of Columbia. They beat each other up. They're going to lean on you and they're going to grind you down and they're going to score in different ways. But at the end of the game, you're going to turn around and look back. Now, that's the other thing too. This team knows how to put points on the board and they can't do it in a hurry. If they do get hot, you'll see them make a run and they'll put, they'll go on runs of 10-0 runs. And at the end of that, you turn around and look and say, what are we doing here, defensively? So Valley View is a good team. And rightfully, they got the number 5 seed. It could have flipped to be the number 4 seed, or it could have been the number 3 seed, just depending on who would have won that tournament.
Yeah, if it turns into a high-scoring game, I think that favors Valley View. If it's lower scoring, that favors Columbia. In terms of top-scoring offenses at state, Lewiston has the top offense at 68.43 points per game. Valley View is literally right behind 68.42. So they're like 1/10 apart from each other in terms of best offense at state. So, all right. And we've saved the best for last year, as it were. The Preston Indians, the defending state champions, Ryan, 20-3. You see it, Tyler Jones in his 16th season and just a litany of state championship trophies filling up the trophy case at Preston High. Got to state last year, won it all. Lost some high-impact dudes, though. Reggie Larson was the player of the year last year in 5A basketball. Cruz Harris was a flyer as well. And yet, Kaysen Bryce, really good player this year. Tripton Beckstead, Parker Galloway, the 6'7" Twin Towers. And this sophomore, Wade Bailey, I think he was at Madison as a freshman. I'd have to double-check that. But he's a sophomore, Wade Bailey, and he is, a lot of nights he's leading Preston in scoring.
Well, and he does it he's creative with the shots. And if you are vertically challenged, 5'10" is not vertically challenged, but in the game of basketball, but if you're vertically challenged, you have to be able to create space with your body and get your shot off, or you can drain threes. And Wade Bailey will do both of those things, and he can shoot from the outside. But getting back to true bigs, you do have a couple of bigs here that actually work as bigs, can post, can stretch you a little bit, can shoot. They do some really nice things. And I think this is where the matchup problem is really going to be become difficult for some of these teams. How do you guard 6'7", 6'7", and then 6'4"? I mean, you look at your 3, and your 3 is bigger than your 5 for the majority of these teams in this tournament. And so we see the Preston Indians, like you said, there's a lot of tournaments, a lot of championships there. Very hungry for another one, I'm sure, trying to prove that they're not just a one-trick pony or a one-year pony. But, I got to tell you, the analogy is simple. There are a lot of churches in Preston, and a lot of these kids have keys to churches, and they will shoot and shoot and shoot. Everybody has access to a gym. And when you're in a small town, I can say this, I'm from Eastern Idaho. When you're in a small town, that's what you do. You go play basketball, either at a school or at a church, and you're shooting all the time, and it shows. And they're very refined game and a very clean game, the way they play it. Not a lot of, what's the term? There's not a lot of unnecessary movement. A lot of it's execution heavy and getting the ball to the right place at the right time to put somebody in position to score.
Yeah. And Sean Kane in the chat says, yes, Wade Bailey was at Madison his freshman year and moved into Preston, and they'll take it. Here's another school where kids have keys to the gym. A lot of churches up in Idaho Falls too. And yeah, Bonneville, definitely a team that, this is their second appearance at state in a row. They caught lightning in a bottle last year and got to state. They did it again this year. Tyler Jordan is a really fun player to watch. He and Cade Littlewood, kind of the 1-2 there for Bonneville. Bonneville is a team that's playing with house money a little bit. I don't know that they match up with Preston particularly well. They're just going to get to come to state, play loose, see what shakes out.
Listen, crazier things have happened. When you're, like you said, house money or play loose, sometimes it doesn't matter. Look, you got to go all in, chips all in on this one. Meaning you got to run a gun. You got to have a game plan that just allows you to either set it up. And if I were the coach of this team at this point, which I'm not, Coach Engel is going to do a great job. If it were me, I would set up and I'd shoot a 3-ball or a layup. And that's the only things that I'd work for and try to out metric Preston at this point. But like you said, that's a tough matchup right off the bat. And I don't want to take anything away from these guys. I mean, these kids have played their hearts out. And like you said, hot at the right time. Second straight year playing in state. It's such a fun time if you get a chance to play over in the state tournament. And so, they're going to do what they can to the best of their ability.
Yeah, I mean, they did beat Pocatello this year. That was a team that they, is in Preston's league. They did play Preston in the regular season. Preston won by 16, but we'll see what sort of adjustments can be made here down the stretch. And they come in winning 4 in a row, including 3 do-or-die games at the district tournament, Idaho Falls, Hillcrest, and then Shelley to win the district title. So it should be a lot of fun there as well. All right, it is time to make our championship game predictions here, Ryan. What do you think?
Are we gonna? So, what do you want to do? Go through the bracket? Should we go through the bracket from the top to bottom?
No, just the championship game and who you think.
Championship game. Preston Lewiston. As much as I like I like Burley's trajectory, Columbia and Valley View pose some matchup problems, probably for each other, and honestly, probably for Lewiston. But I have Preston in the championship. I think that they are such a matchup nightmare. But I do think Lewiston gets some redemption from last year's tournament and comes in and proves some naysayers wrong.
Yeah, this bracket could go. I mean, I really like Twin Falls. I think they win that first round matchup. And then if they were on the opposite side, like I think Twin Falls and Preston could be a championship matchup. That's going to be a semifinal. Lewiston, I think, is going to have Lewiston, I think, wins on day one. And then I think they're going to have their hands full with either Columbia or Valley View, whoever it is coming through here. Yeah, Kyle in the chat says Columbia is going to shock the world. It would not surprise me if Columbia took down Lewiston and you had
Me either.
I honestly look at this and with the exception of Bonneville and Burley, the 2 teams that kind of just caught fire at the end and got here. Any of the other 6 could be playing for the championship, and I'd go, okay, yeah, I could see how they got there. For the sake of just keeping it simple, I will say Lewiston and Preston in the championship, and I too will take Preston. Until somebody actually beats these guys, they're going to continue to be the favorite. So that's what I'll go with there. But I think this is going to be a wild, unpredictable tournament along the way. So
that's what I'm saying. It's going to be the best tournament of all of them. We got this.
Yeah, I think so. So Ryan, you and I will be at Rocky Mountain High School in Meridian broadcasting all these games this weekend. Looking forward to it. All right. With that, we'll take our final break and come back. Scott Burton has been waiting all night. I can see him growing more and more agitated backstage as he is waiting to talk 6A hoops with Clay Hatfield as well. So don't go anywhere. Our final classification right after this, it's the 2026 Idaho High School Boys Basketball State Tournament Preview Special on IdahoSports.com. Welcome back to the 2026 Idaho High School Boys Basketball State Tournament Preview Special, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. Our final classification of the night. It is time to talk 6A state basketball. One residual comment here from our 5A discussion from Dan Rudolph. Glad you guys are doing it. Go Bengals, go Brady Rudolph. And so, yes, we'll see if Lewiston can carry the banner for the North. Let's bring on our 6A broadcasters here, Scott Burton and Clay Hatfield. Scott, are you with us? Oh, his bit's not going to work because his mic's muted. Clay, what a rookie move.
No, noob.
Total noob.
Getting it together, man.
Gosh. Clay, we appreciate your patience tonight.
Scott less so.
Yes. And now see, Scott's not even, his thing's not working. So
he can't figure it out.
No, while Scott figures out his mic, we'll go ahead and put the bracket up on the screen, and then Scott can join us once he gets his mic figured out here. But here's the 6A bracket. It is Owyhee and Rigby, the 1 versus the 8. That's going to be a loud, raucous atmosphere for a noon game at State. Cuna and Highland, the 4 and the 5. Lake City and Timberline, Battle of the Wolves, the 3 and the 6, and then Centennial and Capital, the battle for the real CHS, Part 2. Centennial and Capital will duke it out again there. So, Clay, what's the first thing that jumps out to you when you look at this bracket?
Rigby making the tournament. I mean, talk about a team coming out of nowhere to break into the door and make this group of 8. What an incredible end of the season run they had.
They went to districts as the number 5 seed out of 5 teams and got right away. The way that bracket is set up, the 5 plays the 1 right away, and the winner of that automatically advances to the championship. It's designed for the number 1 seed to have a nice, easy game, and then they just get to rest. And Rigby comes out right away and takes out the number 1 seed at Districts, Thunder Ridge. And so, it was pretty cool to see Rigby kind of take because we're not used to Rigby in the Cinderella role, right? With football and girls basketball, we're used to them, being the favorites. So,
but boys basketball this year, you have to dismiss their record at this point and just give them credit for making it into the tournament.
That's right. Scott, are you with us now?
Yeah, I think so. You got me now?
Yes. Scott, I can't wait to hear your outstanding analysis of this bracket.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's one teams to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this team could head and shoulders better than above everybody else. And it's no secret who we're talking about. It's
Rigby.
Read my mind. It's just, can anybody have the game of their life to knock them off?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's going to come down to.
There
are some interesting, matchups that we'll get to, and there's some interesting players involved and some interesting storylines. But, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And it's Owyhee's to lose.
Okay, well, let's talk about it then. Let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla that is Owyhee. Scott, a couple of years ago, I was doing the 6A state tournament, and it was kind of the same story. Is anybody going to not just beat Owyhee? Is anyone going to stay within 10 points of Owyhee? Are we going to keep it to single digits? Owyhee was the 2 seed that year at state. They were playing the 7 seed Mountain View. It was the early game. It was the noon game at state. And it was the final year before they implemented the shot clock. So it was the final year where you could just take as much time as you wanted to. And Hawaii, despite being the supremely more talented team, started stalling in the fourth quarter for some reason. And Mountain View was able to chip away, come back and win. And so I've seen it happen. And ask anybody that's covered this 6A tournament over the years, that 12 o'clock game is prime for funky upsets. Lake City came down a couple of years ago as the overwhelming number 1 seed, and they lost to Centennial in the 1-8. That 12 o'clock game, for whatever reason, in a mostly empty, cavernous Idaho center, it's hard. It's hard to come out right away. So you're right. Hawaii should be favored, but I'm just saying it's not as impossible as you think.
No, not at all. I mean, but they are the overwhelming favorite. I mean, this is, you've got 5 teams from District 3 in this tournament. And these teams just, beat up on each other all year. But Hawaii owned every single one of them by a lot. Yeah. Even the number 2 overall seed, Centennial, they beat them twice, once by 20 and once by 23. And, they beat up on Timberline, beat them by 23. If they win the first matchup and CUNA beats Highland, well, they've already played once, and Hawaii beat them by 31. So, I mean, on paper, this is the best team by far. Yeah. They have the best defense by far. They're giving up 48 points a game. They're the defending champs. I mean, it's a ridiculous pedigree they got going here, because this is a team that is fast. They love to push. They attack the basket. And one of the things they focused on this year was offensive rebounding, because they knew if they were going to fire up all those shots, they were need to get second shots. And now their second chance points have increased. And defensively, this is not a team you ever want to play, because they play you 94 feet and they wear you down. You can hang a quarter, maybe a half, but my goodness, by the second half rolls around, you have had enough of them.
And we saw Centennial do that in the championship game, where Centennial hung with them for the first half and then just absolutely got blown out the second half, and it wasn't close. Yeah. Their only loss was Meridian this year in conference, and that was a 45-43 game. So a low scoring game. And and that could be where Rigby could come out and maybe pull off one of the greatest upsets we've seen in the tournament, is by keeping Hawaii out of the baskets. And making this a defensive battle. But, I mean, that's a tough call. Game of a lifetime for Rigby.
And unfortunately, unfortunately, Meridian, not one of the 5 District 3 teams that's at this state tournament either. Right. So they not even here. Yeah. So.
And they've got some really good ball players on that team too. Logan, he's the guy. Utah Valley, that's where he's headed to play basketball. He's the point guard, leading scorer, 17 a game. He's the guy that kind of the general, the straw that stirs the drink, if you will. And, talk about Jordan Allen at 5'11", he can guard all 5 positions. He's an awesome defender. So, I mean, they've got all of these different types of players and role players. And, even Magnus is a 3-level scorer. So who do you stop? Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, we got a 6'9" kid in the middle named Larson. So what do we do about him? And he's a guy that not only is just kind of a paint presence and a rim protector, he can step out and hit the 3. On the season, he's shooting just under 50% from 3. So now what do? You've got an opposing big. Well, he just pulls him out from underneath the basket, opens it up for everybody else. So, I mean, this is matchup problem city. But I'm not saying they couldn't get knocked off. I'm just saying this is your favorite right here.
Yeah. It would have to be a perfect game by someone else to knock this team off, I think.
Agreed.
It could happen. We'll see.
It could.
Logan Housefight, of course, the senior point guard, as you mentioned, Scott, started his career at Mountain View, started as a freshman at Mountain View, transferred to Hawaii, and has just taken the reins of this program. A new name to Idaho fans this year might be Kanan Magnus, the 6'4" senior. He previously played in Hamilton, Montana, guys, which is not far from where I grew up down in the Bitterroot Valley. As a junior for Hamilton High School last year in Montana, he was a first-team All-State selection, over 1,000 points in his Hamilton High School career. his family moves into the Treasure Valley, and he joins up with this Hawaii team, and so it's just another kind of quiver in arrow in the quiver, as it were, for Coach Andy Harrington. So yes, this is a very deep, talented Hawaii team. Let's talk about Rigby, the team that's going to get the first swing at the pinata here right away. Clay and I kind of talked about it, Scott. This is a Rigby team that we're not used to seeing in the underdog role necessarily, but they were the fifth seed out of 5 teams at districts. They beat Thunder Ridge right away to get to the championship, lost to Highland, had a battle back, had to go to Canyon Ridge in Twin Falls and win to get that second spot to state. So they've earned their spot here, certainly.
Oh, yeah, no question about it. I mean, I think they owe Canyon Ridge a huge thank you, because once they knocked off Thunder Ridge, they went on and lost this next round. But now they're waiting for the winner of Canyon Ridge and Thunder Ridge. And I guarantee you, Thunder Ridge was not going to lose twice. I mean, I couldn't imagine them losing twice, right? But Canyon Ridge did them a huge favor and knocked them off. And then Rigby's like, holy crap, we can go to state here. And they did. But you know what? They've Justin Jones has been around forever. And, if there's anybody that can take maybe a less talented team or something in this, an underdog, it's going to be him. He's been there, done that, as a winner, as an underdog. So, they've got a good guy leading the way there.
All 3 Jones boys, guys. Trevor Jones won a state championship with the Malad girls 2 weeks ago. Tyler Jones, of course, the coach at Preston, pretty good chance to win there. All right, we'll see if all 3 Jones boys can come home with first place trophies. Of course, they all played for their dad, Terry Jones, at Malad in the 90s. So
yeah, no pressure there.
Oh, none whatsoever. So
right,
that'll be some good Thanksgiving banter.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. So it'll be fun to see how Rigby does. Certainly, Seth Bradley, big kind of a football athlete, 6'4". He's going to be an important guy against Hawaii right away. And then Weston Walker as well, the 6'7" center. Certainly. Okay, let's just move down the bracket then, and let's talk about CUNA and Highland here. Highland was the district champion out of District 5 and 6. And, you want to talk about all-time great Idaho players that are now coaches, Justin Jones, probably top 10 on the all-time scoring list from his days at Malad and now coaching Rigby. Well, Highland's got a really good coach as well in Matt Stuckey, who had a really nice career in the Big Sky Conference and has taken a Highland program that, let's be honest, was significantly down and has just manufactured a couple of nice seasons here. Got Highland to state 2 years ago, 19-4 record this year. And this is a team that's loaded with potential here. Colton Stuckey is his son at 6'6". Trayson Triple, his older brother, Tennyson Triple, the Triple, that's another one of those basketball family names throughout the state of Idaho. Boston McCullough's hit a couple of game-winning shots this year. We recognize Cedric Mitchell from the football field this fall, all-state running back. This is a kind of a fun Highland team here, Clay.
Yeah, they're an athletic team, and they're going to come in, and I think if they can get past CUNA, that they can give Owyhee, if Owyhee gets past Rigby, I think they could give them a good game.
Yeah. Scott, what do you think?
I think Highland is an interesting team because, they operate through pack mentality because they don't have that standout all-star 20 a game player. They've got, 8 guys averaging 5 to 10 points a game. And so it's not kind of who you stop because that's never going to be the question. And, the thing about this team is they've got 6 guys that can shoot above 30% from beyond the arc. So they can spread it out a little bit. But the thing about this team is, like I said, that pack mentality. And an opposing coach was once heard saying this about Highland. He said, "We are not afraid of any one of your players, but together you're scary." And that's probably the ultimate compliment you could pay a team to keep them together, because that is how this team wins. You talked about, some of their players, Marshall Glenn, the point guard, the motor. He's going to be a guy that's going to be the playmaker and quick hands. You've got Colton Stuckey. He is the really their only true big that they have. And you can see right there, he's 6'6", but we're running into guys in this classification that are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and there's a 6'11" guy on a roster, but he's hurt. But that's their big, but he can also shoot the three. And then, Cedric Mitchell, great defender, and he's only 6 feet tall, but he's one of those guys that can defend 1 through 5. So again, it's pack mentality with this Highland team, and I like this matchup.
Yeah, this is going to be a good matchup. This is my highlight game for the tournament, for the early part of the tournament.
Yeah,
because CUNA's got some pretty good things going for them too.
Yeah. Well, to get to CUNA second, one last fun fact here with Highland: Trayson Triple had played at New Plymouth to start his career. His dad, Tennyson Triple, was an assistant coach at New Plymouth. They made a coaching change, and so moved back to Pocatello, where Tennyson grew up. Tennyson played for Highland in the 90s. Now Trayson's playing. Last year as a junior, Trayson sets the new school record for most threes in a single game with 9. Previous record holder was Tennyson with 8. So he breaks, breaks Dad's record. So that's kind of a fun story from Highland as well. CUNA has been a really fun story this year. CUNA is a program that's had a lot of success in getting to state as a 5A school. And then they moved up to 6A because of an expanding population and have really struggled to find their footing in a lot of sports against a lot of these larger 6A schools. CUNA is one of the smaller 6A schools in the classification. And this year it has all come together. Clay, I know this guy is so much fun to watch. Emmanuel Chabuka, the 6'7" junior.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this guy plays with an enthusiasm that is just, and every coach in the preseason said, you got to watch out for this guy.
And he does. He's a lot of fun to watch. He can play inside with his 6'7" size, but he handles the ball well too, and he can play outside. But the guy that stands out for me on this lineup is Jackson Edwards. In the tournament, he was the guy that kind of really stepped up and carried the CUNA team into the state tournament.
Yeah, this is a team that Scott, every single starter is 6 feet or taller, and actually 6'2" or taller.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good basketball team, and when you got a guy like Manny Chabuka in the middle, averaging almost a double-double, 16 and 9. And then, but yeah, you throw in a guy like Jackson Edwards and just a big time athlete. I mean, that guy is just an athlete, period, and can do so many things on the basketball floor. But, those two together are a pretty good 1-2 punch. But the interesting storyline here is that, they're playing for a coach in his first season. I mean, at least with the team. I mean, their coach has been around forever and ever, but first year with this team. So it's a new system with new philosophies and trying to get the guys to buy into it. And, and it took a little bit to get that, and one of the things that CUNA, can do to you is they do have some length. And as you brought that up there on their starting lineup, they do have some length and some size and some athleticism, which can cause some problems. But what I found really interesting about this CUNA team is when you look at that SIC and you look at like all, 27 teams that are in there, and you look at the top players that lead the category of offensive rebounds, 4 of the 5 belong to CUNA. 4 of the top 5 rebounders in that SIC belong to CUNA. And it's, Chabuka is leading the way with 1, but right behind is Jackson Edwards. And then at 3 is Bridger Barris. And then, Hoffler's at 5. I mean, that says something about what CUNA can do to you on the glass. And that's going to be the one thing that Highland's going to struggle with is they have got to figure out how to make their presence on the glass, because CUNA is very, very good there.
And CUNA also goes about 8 guys deep. So they can rotate guys in. They like to rotate guys in often, and they have a solid bench. They have a solid bench.
Mm-hmm. It's been really impressive what Coach Kelly Bookin has done in his first season, and we'll see if he can book him a spot in the semifinals.
Well played, Brandon.
All right, bottom half of the bracket, guys. Let's go to Lake City and Timberline. Oh my gosh, what a gauntlet Lake City had to survive. They had to play Post Falls in the best of 3 championship series up in the north. Post Falls comes out and wins game 1 on Lake City's floor. Timberwolves back against the wall. They've got to win the next 2, and they do, including on Saturday. This is a Lake City team that got to state last year. Of course, won their first and only title in school history back in 2023. They have alumni playing all across the Division I landscape currently. Blake Buchanan's at Iowa State. Well, that's all nice, but none of that helps this year's team. And this year's team has some studs as well. Josh Watson, Jordan Carlson. Really, it's the 4 J's here, Scott. Jackson Bowman, Jackson Anderson, Josh Watson, and Jordan Carlson.
Yeah, this is an interesting team as well. I mean, they had some absolute knockdown dragouts with Post Falls all season long, and especially down the stretch. And I'm sure Post Falls is a curse word to Lake City, and Lake City is a curse word to Post Falls. I mean, I think that's just how that goes. But these are really good guys that play well together. Their losses are a lot to Washington and California teams. So again, it becomes that difficult barometer to measure Lake City. And that's just kind of the way it is with the North. I mean, this is a good team. They run that conceptual style of offense where they just think about offense, whatever. But it's kind of one of those, they teach the kids how to read and then they just turn them loose because there is no set thing with that conceptual style of offense. But you know what? They also play a conceptual style of defense too. And they use something called peel switching, which is kind of fits that conceptual defense. The traditional old school, if you get beat off the dribble, or your man beats you, it's kind of a help and recover type of situation. They use peel and switch. So let's say that, traditionally what this is like your point guard, you're on defense and the point guard beats his defender. Well, the next closest person all of a sudden just starts guarding that person. And the guy that was originally guarding the point guard goes and finds his teammates dude that he left to go cover him. So it's like a rescue type of situation. It's a different style, and it's hard to teach because you've got to get your guys to think differently. So I'm interested to see this Lake City team play, because of that. And on top, they've got a really good player by the name of Jordan Carlson, the 6'7" junior. He's a 3-level scorer at 6'7", averaging 18 a game. Potential Gatorade Player of the Year candidate. This is a really good player. And then, Josh Watson, NIC signee, just super athletic, 12 points a game. This is I want to see this team play. And plus on top of that, this is a Lake City team that has a lot of storylines to it too, because, they were involved, if you remember, last summer where the fires in Coeur d'Alene and Lake City, and then the sniper up there started picking off first responders. Remember that? Yeah. And so I believe they were in Seattle when all that happened. And so it was all coming into them, and it was, they're panicking because we don't know what's going on. So anyway, by the time they get home, everything is great, but they also have, I think it's called the fish game they have there.
Yeah. Fight for the fish.
Right. But they did something super, super cool where they brought all those first responders and honored them. And so there's definitely storylines with this Lake City team. And so I'm interested to watch them play.
Yeah. One thing to monitor up top there, Paxton Winey, the senior point guard. Sam Buffington says, let's see how the game goes without Paxton Winey. Some thought he broke his ankle in game 2 against Post Falls, didn't play in that third game on Saturday, maybe sprained his ankle. They went with another senior, Ian Williams, at point guard, so we'll have to keep an eye on who can actually handle the point guard position for Lake City at state as well. We put Winey on the graphic, but that's going to be a tough loss to offset.
He does have an ankle injury. I can't confirm that, and his status is day to day.
Yeah.
So we're just going to see.
We'll see.
It'll be a surprise for us on Thursday.
Yeah,
that's right.
For sure.
That's right. And again, just to reiterate that best of 3 with Post Falls, they lost the first game by 2. Post Falls had the lead throughout the second half, and Lake City had to pull one out of the fire and win in overtime by 2 just to force that decisive third game. And so either way, between Post Falls and Lake City, it was going to be interesting to see. And so here Sam wants to know, Can Lake City handle Timberline's slow offense? We'll see. That's why the games are played. So let's talk about that slow offense for Timberline, Clay. I don't know if that's how I'd characterize it personally. I think this is a team that's got a lot of interchangeable parts.
Yeah, and it goes through Colin Morris. He can be a problem out there at 6'7", but he plays inside, he plays outside, he can handle the ball. He could be a problem for Lake City.
And, of course, J.D. Fokereel at the point of attack as well is a really good maestro for this Timberline offense, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at really an interesting style and probably the most different style of play than any of the teams in the tournament is Timberline. You know, Travis Noble, I mean, he's been around the block. I mean, he was 3 years an assistant coach at Montana State Northern. He was 5 years, I think, at Oakley as the head coach there. 1 year an assistant at Walla Walla, you know, and year 8 now at Timberline. So this is a guy that's been around the block and has been schooled in a lot of different philosophies. And the one that he's held on to is this: execute and value the basketball. It's not this, you know, kind of out of control, let's just go willy-nilly. If we have 15 turnovers, so be it, because we're going to shoot it 60 times. That's not them. And so their style is going to be different. And so, yes, Clay, when Sam said slow it down, yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what Timberline does here. You know, but it's also a team that can score some points. I mean, they're averaging 63 a game. Defensively, they're not bad at, 53 a game. They shoot a pretty good percentage from beyond the arc, but they are undersized. They have battled injuries all year long, and I think they're getting healthy all together at the right time. So that might, benefit Timberline coming down the stretch. And you talked about, Colin Morris, one of the top players in the state. I mean, this is a guy that can just flat out score, averaging 18 a game, but he's shooting 44% from beyond three, right? And he's an 86% free throw shooter. This is a guy that is so efficient that if you fall asleep on him, he'll light you up. And I mean, just a pure scorer. And then you some of those other guys on there. Another guy that you're going to have to pay attention to on this team, and Clay, you would know because you've seen him play a lot more than I have, and that's maybe Cole Hudson.
Yeah,
the microwave. I mean, he reminds me of Vinnie Johnson, Detroit Pistons, bad boys.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think I dated
look that one up, kids.
Yeah, look that one up. And he was the microwave because he could come in and just get hot at any time. And he's an all-conference player from last year, but he's a fast heater, right?
Yeah.
So he's a guy to keep an eye on. So this Timberline team, they've got some weapons and a style.
They're methodical. They're methodical in their approach.
Yes.
I think they know what they're going to do. They know who they are, and they just go out and execute it. They're not flashy by any means, but they're good at what they do.
Exactly. So that's going to be interesting.
How many 6A coaches can say they started their career at a 1A school in Oakley and now they're coaching in the big leagues, Timberline in the city of Boise? That's a cool storyline for sure. And then Timberline they've been so agonizingly close the last 2 years, right? We all remember 2 years ago, they beat Coeur d'Alene in the state semifinals in overtime. Alex Coe hit that amazing shot. They fall to Owyhee in the championship the next night. Last year, they have to play Owyhee in the semifinals. They lose by 9 to the Storm. They are tired of those guys. They're tired of getting close. They've never won a championship, Clay. They get to state, and they just haven't been able to break through. So I know they would really love a chance to get that opportunity, and it all starts with that first matchup with Lake City. But should be good. All right, our final matchup is Centennial and Capital. Who's the real CHS? Centennial proved that fairly emphatically this season. 20-3 are the Patriots. And so they have the better overall record than Owyhee, but Owyhee played, a lot of out-of-state opponents. And just speaking of out-of-state opponents, one last thing about Lake City, 16-8, they played 24 games this year, 12 against Idaho schools, 12 against out-of-state opponents, which is just insane. And they only got to the even ledger because they played Post Falls 3 times at districts. So they played more out-of-state opponents in the regular season than Idaho opponents, which is just another data point. But Clay, talk to me about Centennial. Gabe Edens, I think, is such an exciting player. Maybe the best player in the state, best senior in the state for 6A basketball this year.
Oh, absolutely. He's a stud. I got to see him play in the district tournament, and he is everything that's advertised and then some. And this is a Centennial team that could make some noise in the tournament. They're the 2 seed, so people have expectations of them. But they're one of those teams that I think Hawaii doesn't want to see in the championship.
Yeah, they've got Edens. I've heard Henry Johnson described as kind of the glue guy. He just kind of does all the nitty gritty stuff. Tobin Knutson's a really good player too here, Scott. So yeah, this has been a nice season for Centennial.
No, it really has. I mean, this is a team that loves to, play transition basketball. They love to push. They love to share the ball, make the extra pass. They defensive philosophy is defend hard, take away the middle. And this is a team that has some length. I mean, you can see by that starting lineup that, they do have some length that can cause some problems. And, one of the interesting storylines with Centennial is, if there was a turning point in their season, it was their first league game. And they played so poorly that the coaching staff, they just went back and they changed their entire defensive scheme. They just rewrote the defensive playbook. And the kids bought in. And they loved it. And since then, they have really kind of played some really good basketball, especially on the defensive side of things. And you talk about, Gabe Edens, one of the, best scorers in the state, averaging 21 a game. Again, another one of those level 3 scorers that can just take over if he gets hot.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Henry Johnson. See, I had him pegged as the Swiss Army knife because he could do everything, and he's the guy that when Centennial needs something, he's the one that's going to do it. I mean, he'll score if you need him. I mean, he's averaging about 9 a game. He'll go get those big rebounds if you need him to, or he'll defend that player when you need a stop.
Yeah.
He's that kind of player that doesn't really make a lot of noise in the stat column, but he sure as heck makes a lot of noise in the win column. If you
He plays both sides of the ball very well. He's good offensively and defensively.
Yep. Yeah. And then you talk about Knutson. He might be one of the, I don't want to say flashy players, but at 6'4", could be one of the best dunkers in the tournament.
Yeah.
19 a game for this kid, but you give him a breakaway, you're going to get a pretty
He's
memorable.
He's going to put on a show.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a good basketball team. The only thing is, if to be the number 2 seed, obviously, and you said it, there are expectations here. If they are to get there, and it's a chalk championship, they have got to get it figured out, because this Hawaii has owned them.
Yeah.
And they've got to get that figured out. And I'm jumping way ahead, but I'm just saying, if it goes chalk, that's the thing. And you talk about this Capital. I'm not going to get into Capital yet, but Centennial's played Capital twice and just took them out behind a woodshed. So they won by 31 and they won by 40. Does Capital have an answer? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, the Capital does have an answer, but we'll get to that in a second. The thing about Centennial here that's interesting, the last time they made it state, you see it there on the graphic, 2022, they were the number 8 seed at state that year. That was that year I talked about. They upset Lake City, the number 1 seed. Then they got the upset in the semifinals over Rigby, and they got to the championship where they had to play Hawaii, and Hawaii only won by 7 against the number 8 seed Centennial. So it's a different feeling now, whereas they were the Cinderella the last time they were at state. Now they're one of the favorites. Can they get back? And again, every team I talk about their history at state, it always ends with a loss to Hawaii somewhere. So everybody's just trying to exercise that demon a little bit.
Yep, exactly.
For sure. All right, well, let's talk about Capital. You were wondering, does Capital have an answer for Centennial? They do. It's this sophomore named Quincy Clay. I don't know if you guys saw this year. He scored 51 points in a single game against Mountain View, but here's the problem, Clay. Capital lost that game.
Yeah.
So you walk away from the headline going, oh man, Quincy Clay scored 51. Capital must have rolled. No, they lost. That's the problem. They score a lot, but they give up a lot as well.
They do. And Quincy Clay is legit. He is a great ball player, but the problem is, who else do they have on their team to kind of support him, who's going to show up and help him out as he gets his 30 points. Where are you going to get another 40 points from the rest of the team?
Yeah, and this is where that 6'11" David Simba played a role in this.
Yeah.
And, he played, I think, just in 5 games this year, but he had a lot of potential to carry this team or help carry this team, because you're absolutely right. I mean, somebody's going to have to help Quincy Clay. I mean, this kid, like you said, Brandon, 51 in a game, and he's had a couple of 40-plus games.
Yeah.
But where is the help? So, I mean, he averages 27 a game. Obviously, the most prolific scorer in the tournament. But you look at that SIC again. Offensively, in that SIC, they were second in offense, dead last in defense.
Yeah.
And there you go.
So we'll see if Capital can spring the upset. There always seem to be some crazy upsets along the way at this 6A tournament in particular. So here's our bracket, guys. It is time to make our official championship game predictions. I've been going first all night here, and so I will take Owyhee and I will take Lake City in the championship. I'll take my North Idaho Timberwolves here. And in the interest of making it interesting, because I think I know where you guys are going to lean, I'll take Lake City. Sure. I mean, Owyhee hasn't seen Lake City this year. There's always the possibility a team from the north comes down and surprises, certainly. Lake City did play at Owyhee's tournament, the Pro Image Sports Holiday Classic, but they did not actually get to play Owyhee in that tournament. So you know what? I'll take Lake City over Owyhee.
It's a very bold prediction.
If I win that, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket.
I would.
What do you think, Scott?
Well, I kind of wrestled with this too. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that's going to stop Owyhee from getting to the championship game unless it's Owyhee. So I think they're just too good. That said, the bottom side of the bracket is the interesting one, because if Lake City advances, and then you have a rematch of last year's state title game, where Owyhee trounced Lake City en route to a title. Maybe that's a little bit of locker room motivation for Lake City to get there. Centennial is the same way. I mean, we have been the beat up younger brother to Owyhee all season long. What do we got? You know what? I am going to go with Owyhee and Lake City.
Yeah.
It's just that question mark that Lake City has, especially playing 12 games outside of Idaho. You don't have that measuring stick, and they're a hard scout. They're a hard team to prepare for. So that's why. And then I have Owyhee winning it.
Okay, Clay.
Well, I think it's going to be a boring matchup between the 1 and the 2 seed in the championship. I think Centennial can get by Lake City. I think they have the athleticism and the team speed to do it. And then in the championship game, if Centennial can figure out how to turn a 1/2 in that championship, SIC championship game into a full game and not just get blown out in the second half, it could be a good championship game. But again, I think it's Owyee's to lose at the risk of being boring.
That's all right. I've learned the years you think it's going to be boring are the times where it's maybe the most unpredictable. So we'll see how it all shakes out, but should be a lot of fun. 6A tournament at the Ford Idaho Center. You guys are going to be living large courtside all week at the Idaho Center. Should be a good time. So
that's right. That's right.
Scott and Clay, looking forward to your calls this weekend, and thank you for hanging out for the late night edition of the preview show.
It's bedtime.
Yes.
Yeah. Good thing you switched it. I don't think Gary would have lasted.
No, definitely not. No.
He'd be face down on his keyboard and he'd wake up with QWERTY across his forehead.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, thanks to everybody for tuning in all night here on IdahoSports.com. Of course, you can go back and watch these on replay anytime on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X accounts as well. And good luck to everybody that's competing at state this weekend. And then remember, IdahoSports.com will be there every step of the way. All 66 games, all 6 classifications, live, free coverage, all on IdahoSports.com. For Clay Hatfield and Scott Burton and everybody else that joined us tonight, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning in. Travel safe, and we'll see you down in Boise for boys state basketball on IdahoSports.com.